Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
There's only one thing you can do when expectations are that high. Meet them. And there's only one way to stop being haunted by the ghosts and the legends and the champions atop this building. Join them. Together they have, and together they stand alone on top of the mountain for now. And once again, the Boston Celtics stand alone for all time. It is Banner 18. The mission demanded is mission accomplished.
Sean Grandy, very poetic as the Celtics win the title. Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Might be nighttime where you are. Pearl, this was a coronation because this game was out of hand. A blowout to win the title on your home floor for the Celtics doesn't get any sweeter. Jaylen Brown is your MVP, although that was kind of split between the voters. He only won 7-4. Did you watch this Celtics team last night and think to yourself, I'm watching an all-time great team?
Oh, no. I mean, no one's comparing this team to the 98 Bulls or some team or the 85 Celtics. I think this is a modern NBA champion in the sense that they just figured out things, and they're a very, very good team. But I don't think they're a dynasty. I don't think they're a great, great team. They're very similar to the past several champions, right? Did you see them as I'm watching an all-time NBA team that we're going to talk about historically?
You know, the numbers would tell you that they are one of the all-time great teams just because how they buzz through the Eastern Conference. And I know people like to say that they faced teams that weren't at full strength. They only lost 3 games in the playoffs. They're only the second team to do that since we went to 7-game series for everything. You know, they had this incredible point differential. It's not the best, but it's really good. And you had this deep team and this, led by stars, shooters at every position. I mean, a little reminiscent. I know people have said this before, so I'm not breaking any ground here, but almost a little reminiscent of the Detroit Pistons team, but better than that Detroit Pistons team.
The Larry Brown Detroit Pistons or the Bad Boy Pistons?
The Larry Brown Detroit Pistons, right.
Well, that's not a good comparison then. If you're talking
but better. Better right. In the sense that a full, complete team, not 2 stars and everyone else gets dragged along or something like that.
Well, that team actually had they had a number of stars as well. Yeah, I get that analogy, but that was a one-off team. I totally understand that, like a dominant season. Unfortunately, legacy-wise, they really weren't tested. I mean, that's the bottom line. As Jayson Tatum said before the game, I guess we're going to have to do it again next year to prove all you guys wrong. And I'm sorry, I'm all you guys. Yes, this was a great championship, but it felt kind of like a one-off, not the beginning of a dynasty to me, but hey, you know what? I picked the Mavs in the series, so what do I know? Maybe I'm underestimating this Celtics team.
I was really surprised how much the Celtics, listen, the confetti is still falling at TD Garden or whatever they call it, and they're already talking about, okay, do you need to win a second title to really solidify yourself? It's like, can't you just enjoy the first title? How quickly did this thing go to the second title? Let's hear a little from Jayson Tatum, shall we? Because he's obviously one of the guys leading the way for the Celtics. Can we hear cut 13, please, Pete? Says he had to listen to a lot of crap before finally winning this title.
These last 7 years have been a roller coaster, up and down. I had to listen to all the that people said about me, and tonight it was worth it. Oh my God.
You know what? He deserves it because this is why I think this Celtics team does have a chance. I don't want to say dynasty. It's too hard. You're right. There's so much parity in the NBA right now. But it doesn't feel like a one-off team like the Toronto Raptors. They're the ultimate, it feels like, one-off team.
Well, because Kawhi was leaving.
Kawhi was a mercenary, and he was leaving. Kevin Durant got hurt in the series. He tore his Achilles. Klay Thompson tore an ACL. They felt like an all-time one-off. It's not like the Celtics just got here, and all of a sudden, the Mavericks, who just put together this crazy run and found themselves in the finals. The Celtics have been the stalwart. They've been the staple. I mean, they went to a finals. They lost it, obviously, to the Warriors in 2022. But they've been a mainstay in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think that would make me, if I'm a Celtics fan or a Boston fan, that makes me hopeful that, they're not going anywhere.
Well, yeah, they have an advantage of the East is inferior to the West. They actually remind me a lot of last year's Denver team and the 2021 Milwaukee Bucks team. But here's the thing: they do have a structural advantage. Like the East has fallen apart around them, so they're likely going to be back again next year, at least to the conference finals. So they do have a chance to break the streak. What is it? 6 straight? Yeah, 6 straight champions. They have a great chance to break that streak. But
Six straight new champions.
Right. You look at their team. I mean, okay, let's be honest. Yeah, Brown and Tatum are awesome, but are they Pippen and Jordan? No. Are they Stockton Malone? No.
I mean, they're 26 and 27 years old, Perloff. I'm not saying they're going to be.
Oh, my gosh.
Did you just glance?
They're definitely not Pippen and Jordan.
Okay, but we're looking back on Pippen and Jordan, 6 titles in, and, one of the great dynasties that sports has ever known with the Chicago Bulls. Could Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum, again, at 26 and 27, these guys aren't old. Al Horford winning it in his 17th year, that was awesome last night. Like, you were right, he is a Hall of Famer. You called that 2 years ago. But, if you hang around that long, you're definitely getting the Basketball Hall of Fame. But this is like, they came into the league, they've immediately been good.
Right.
They have gone through all these trials and tribulations. This team is freaking mentally tough.
Oh, I don't know about that.
No, they weren't, and they did not have that reputation. And I think their reputation has changed because of this finals run. I mean, how many times, even last night, when it looked like they should have had an even bigger lead than they did in the first half, and the Mavs somehow were able to keep this thing close. I think they absorbed every punch. The only hiccup was really game 4, which you could forgive for a variety of reasons. They were up 3-0. They knew they were going home, multiple chances to close it out. I've just been so beyond impressed that the Boston Celtics had plenty of chances to cave and fold, and they didn't do it in this finals.
What are you talking about? They blew them out of the water. This wasn't even close. You can't say this is a mentally tough series when it was a 5-game series with multiple kind of easy wins. I want to see them, and I can't believe I'm doing this to them. I want to see them in a game 7 in a close game against a really good team. That's when we'll see if they're really mentally tough. We're talking dynasty, and the fact that you even hesitated when I said they're not Jordan and Pippen is crazy to me. Well, they won 6 titles and basically in a row. There's no way Tatum and Brown are doing that.
I never said they were doing that. I'm just saying that it took Jordan a while to get his first, just like it's taken Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown a while to get their first.
But that makes, by you saying that means that there's a similarity.
No, I'm saying, and we still have a long way to go. I can't predict the future. If you're telling me now the best 1-2 punch combination in the NBA, don't you think, who else are you putting there? Jokic and Murray?
Well, last year you would have said by far Jokic and Murray. Or you would have, 3 weeks ago, a lot of people said Kyrie and Luka.
Well, but
so it changes. Like, there's no guarantee that they are. That's the thing. We're talking, Jordan and Pippen were historical. You knew they were going to do it. Magic and Kareem, historical. Bird, McHale, Paris, those guys, I just don't know that this team is there. They're a very, very good team. They're the best team in the NBA, no doubt. But I don't see this as the beginning of some massive run like that.
Well, again, I don't know if anyone's ever going to win 6 titles in 8 years ever again. So put that out of your mind, because that's an insane expectation. But if I asked you, Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum, in terms of great duos in the NBA, you can't, especially now that they actually have one, and you don't have to, maybe the thoughts about bad turnovers and sloppy play and not being able to rise to the moment. All those things are gone now. So you have to be able to give them their due. And as far as duos, they are the best, one of the best, if not the best in the NBA. Today, you have to call them the best. And they were awesome in this game. And Kyrie and Luka were not. And the thing about Kyrie and Luka, they got anointed way too fast, just like Anthony Edwards got anointed way too fast. Yeah. So that's us. That's not the sport. Like, that's something that we do as the media. And we crown people too fast.
Well, yeah. So we crowned you. It sounds like you're crowning Tatum and Brown.
I've been watching them for almost a decade be great. They've gone to Eastern Conference Finals after Eastern Conference Finals. This is their second finals appearance.
This is easy for you to say the day after they won the title. Did you say it a month ago as confidently?
Pearl, they were the best team wire to wire. And
I'm not arguing with that, but you're saying that it's a no-brainer that they're the top duo in the NBA. And that feels to me in the moment.
Okay, but again, Kyrie and Luka felt in the moment.
Yeah, no, I know.
Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum have actually been doing this
right
since for like 6 or 7 years.
Well, I will say one thing.
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum, the players around them are much better than the players around Kyrie and Luka. So I do think that's a big factor too. I don't even think it's a guarantee that I'd take Tatum and Brown moving forward. Luka, I understand, was disappointing in some ways, but still, dude's putting up 30-point triple-doubles like it's nothing. And Kyrie is getting a little older now. Like, he's spectacular when he wants to be. So I just think that they're in the mix, but I'm not looking at them like Tatum and Brown are this unbeatable duo.
Well,
like I looked at Jordan and Pippen. That's the analogy. Like, that's the level of history I'm comparing them to.
Well, this is the other part that I think the Celtics really have going for them. And obviously, we're congratulating the Celtics this morning on their win last night. And they won the title. They tweaked this team in a way that was pretty damn impressive. I mean, these were trades. This is like active front office stuff that you can look at with Brad Stevens, who took the job from Danny Ainge. They had Ime Udoka, who took him as far as he could go before he had to get unceremoniously dismissed. Then Joe Mazzulla, of all people, takes over, someone who wasn't even on the first row of the bench. Someone who I saw yesterday posted this on social media, that Joe Mazzulla and Kyrie Irving are in the same draft class. I mean, this guy is young, and I think Brad Stevens, as the sort of puppeteer or the front office, I don't think they're going to let this thing fade. Now, whether or not the players can actually get it done in the moment, that's obviously the players. But you have to give credit for Brad Stevens, someone who's been defined in a lot of ways by losses, by terrible losses in his career in big moments. Butler, back-to-back years, all those losses with the Celtics where they were so close. I think they got the Midas touch here, and the rest of the league's kind of helping them out. Because Drew Holiday became available, and then all of a sudden he's with the Celtics. And Al Horford became available because your Philadelphia 76ers gave up on him. And Porzingis became available. What's that?
Derek White, too.
And Derek White became available, and they traded a first-round pick for him a couple years ago and went to the finals that season that they traded for him. So they're capitalizing here.
What's the downside on all those guys? Drew Holiday's 34. Al Horford's I don't know. Al Horford's 38. Kristaps Porzingis is not going to be on the court. They're saying surgery now. Oh, boy.
Dr. Rock would not be happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, Drew Holiday especially, like, he's got to get old at some point. I mean, he's been around half my life as a Sixer, and who knows? So I think that this team
kicked him out of town to start the process.
Drew, so there is definitely, like, you say all that, but these are not sustainable role players necessarily. Like, Drew was huge in this series.
Massive.
He is just a winning player. His defense is awesome. Derek White, how does a 6'4" guy blocking 7-footers regularly? I don't understand his defensive ability is insane. I just think that there are a lot of little pieces around Tatum and Brown. I mean, Tatum and Brown, did they really shoot that well this series? Like, could Tatum ever find his shot in this series? I think he shot 37% on the whole series.
Yeah.
So I think they're a great team. They're a great defensive team, but they're in the mix. It's not like I'm looking at them like I'm looking at them a lot like the Nuggets. Like, after last year at this time, I was like, wow, the Nuggets have a formula. They're going to be hard to beat. Celtics, I feel the same way. Man, they have a formula. They're going to be hard to beat. They're going to get out of the East again, but they're a very, very good team, a very good champion. To me, not an all-time champion. And of course, I'm a Sixers fan, so I'm doing this, but I'm raining on the parade. It didn't feel like an all-time champion, and I will admit, it's because they were not tested, Maggie. You know that. The East was bad, and the Mavs ran out of steam. They used they basically used all their energy to get out of the West and had nothing left for this series. They were exhausted. First of all, everybody was exhausted last night. The Celtics seemed exhausted too. But the Mavs had nothing left in the tank, and you know that.
Okay, that's not an excuse. It's the finals. Like, that to me isn't like, wow, you were so tired. We should really give you a pass because you lost.
The Celtics had a preseason schedule in the Eastern Conference playoffs. The Mavs had to get through a really, really good Oklahoma City Thunder team, a really athletic Minnesota Timberwolves
team. They never had to face the Nuggets. So I
agree with that.
I don't want to really hear about the Mavs because...
Well, they had to work a lot harder than the Celtics did to get there.
Okay, but they didn't have to face, like, Mike Tyson, if we're going to do the punch-out analogy. They never had to take down the big bag wolf of the Nuggets. And is it harder? Well, listen, we would have said that if the Timberwolves had gone to the finals and lost, if the Nuggets had gone to the finals and lost, if the Oklahoma City Thunder, that's just life in the Western Conference versus the Eastern Conference. Things broke a little right for Boston, and they were dominant as things were breaking right. It's not like they went to 7 games with Indiana. They didn't go to 7 games with Miami. They took care of these teams. So I think that deserves some credit too.
They deserve no credit for taking care of those teams. None. Why are you giving them credit for beating Miami without Jimmy Butler?
I'm giving them credit for making it to the finals and then winning it. And I'm
giving them credit for whooping the Mavericks, but I'm not giving them. They don't get any credit for beating those teams.
No, you're not even giving them credit for the Mavericks. You're saying the Mavs are tired.
Well, that's almost demeaning to the Celtics as a dynasty to give them credit for beating those teams. Because
who's a dynasty? They're not a dynasty. They won last night. You're saying dynasty. That no one else is saying that.
Yeah, I'm just saying if you're giving them credit for knocking out, like, oh, they beat these beat up East teams, like that's almost like demeaning to them. Like, yeah, they won 64 games this year. They were the best team this year.
Yeah.
So they should have killed those teams, and they did. Now the Mavericks thing, the fact that they held this Mavericks team to about 90 points a game is unbelievable. They were. You mentioned it, they were designed. They have 4 outstanding perimeter defenders. They were designed to stop Luka, Doncic, and Kyrie Irving. So. Yeah, give them credit, but I'm still dubious about this team. Yeah, I am. I'm sorry. Kill me. If there are any Boston fans out there, I'm sorry. But it feels to me like closer. Are they closer to a 5-ring team or a 1-ring team? This particular core, and I would say a 1-ring team.
Well, I think that's impossible to say because we've had new champions every single year. We're not in like a dynastic moment, where the Warriors went through theirs and now they got old, and I don't know. I'm not ready to say they're the dynasty, but I can see like what's in front of my eyes, which is Tatum and Brown figuring it out was always going to be bad news for the rest of the NBA. I do believe that because they would lose games in ways that were not just like, just missed shots, like turnovers, bonehead plays. It's like, man, once these guys figure it out and get confidence that they can actually win a title and be great, this is going to be tough for the rest of the NBA. I did always think that they were a tandem that needed to taste it. And I mean, they had so many bad losses. And now to finally get over the hump, I do think this matters. I think it makes it different. Yeah,
it's funny. I came away from that series saying Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis in the first game, like there was a lot going on there. It didn't feel like Tatum and Brown exactly figuring it out.
Well, that game 3, I mean, this was the moment, and I know Luka fouled out, but he was complaining to the referees. He did not keep the main thing in that game. And they almost blew a 21-point lead. And Luka fouled out. We'll always have that what if of that game, would that game have been different? But they held the fort in the most pivotal game of the entire series. So I don't know. Is it controversial to say that the Celtics are a good team? 855-212.
Good team. I never said they weren't a good team. You asked me to poke holes. You asked me, are they an all-time team?
Yeah. You're ready to chip away at them and just chop them down a little bit.
No, I'm not.
Death by 100 paper cuts.
No, I'm not chopping down at all. I think I'm where most people view this team as a potential maybe 1 or 2-time title team, which is great.
2 would be significant.
Is it?
Yes. 2 in this day and age is very significant.
It's not the Warriors.
Well, the Warriors are a really special team. I mean, yeah, they're not the Warriors. Of course. The Warriors in 2017 might be the best team, one of the best teams we've ever seen.
See, you tell somebody that in Boston, I think they are that team.
Well, I mean, they're drunk off Sam Adams.
Yeah. By the way, who would you have voted for MVP? Jaylen Brown or Jayson Tatum?
Yeah, let's do that in a moment. 855-212-4227. Dissecting, slicing, and dicing this NBA Finals. Do you see the Celtics was just a great team we were watching? Or to Perloff's point, do you feel like, it's just a little, I don't say you're not putting asterisks on, but you're definitely a little of this, a little of that, little who did they play in the Eastern Conference? They didn't have a lot of close games in the finals.
By the way, you know who's not here today, right?
Bogusz?
Well, Bogusz is not here, but also Andrew Kaplan's not here, and we know why that is probably.
Celebrating.
Yeah. He's down the Parkway. The Parkway.
That was
still
a
working
party.
on that accent.
That looked like a party. I didn't say after they burned down the town like they would have done in Philly last night. They were definitely partying outside.
Actually, let's look for a little police blotter stuff if we can. I'm sure that's going to be fun. 855-212-4227. Okay, we'll get into the Finals MVP situation. Also, some of the smaller moments from last night that really added up. We'll get to some of those as well. Maggie and Perloff, glad to have you. Want to watch the show? Come on in. YouTube.com/InfinitySportsNet, Twitch.tv/Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
So there are 11 voters, I believe, for Finals MVP. I always want to get in on the MVP voting because we have a friend, Chris Mannix, who covers the NBA, and I always tell him the MVP voters are the most clueless group in the history of the world for the NBA. They gave it to Russell Westbrook and James Harden, and then they're like, we never did that. So anyway, these MVP, I don't understand.
A lot of groupthink.
A lot of groupthink. How 4 people out of this all-star panel, like big names. You got Sam Amick, Malika Andrews, Tim Bontemps, etc., Doris Burke. How do you vote for Jayson Tatum? Jayson Tatum really didn't do much this series. He scored 16 points in game 1, 18 in game 2, had a huge game 3, 31, did nothing in the blowout, obviously, then had 31 on 24 shots last night. This, to me, was Jaylen Brown because Jaylen Brown was the stopper. When things started getting nerve-wracking for Boston, it was to Jaylen Brown, where Tatum poured on less significant points to me, and he really didn't have a great shooting finals. He shot 38% from the field, 26% from 3. So it wasn't like the best Tatum. I see much better Tatum. Tatum in the earlier rounds was way better than this series. And I mean, maybe give credit to Dallas, but it wasn't a big Jayson Tatum series. So how did you vote for him?
Well, I mean, they didn't ultimately give it to Tatum. Jaylen Brown did win it, and he won 7-4. So, like, people did think Jaylen Brown was the better player. I think Tatum may have had the better game last night. So maybe it's the last thing you see in the closeout game. He covered Luka a lot more. Well, I mean, I guess Drew Holiday really.
I thought, are you sure Tatum got, actually,
it was more Jaylen Brown than covering Luka.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean.
And by the way, it helped that Jaylen was guarding Luka the whole court, because they could just say Dallas had no real weapons other than Luka, so they could focus on him. I thought it was definitely Jaylen Brown, but I don't even think MVP is really relevant. You pointed out, like, Drew Holiday was so huge in this series.
He was awesome.
Derek White was huge. KP
Derek White
in limited minutes.
sacrificed his face yesterday. Yeah. I mean, he's like no teeth basically this morning or last night, and didn't even had to come out of the game. I mean, they stopped it for a second. He literally landed on his face, chips half of a tooth. Other teeth are like falling out of his head, and he didn't even miss a second. I mean, just really banana stuff. And
Al Horford, Sam Hauser. Everybody contributed where really, I don't know. I can't point to many good performances on Dallas' side. Like, what happened to Derek Lively was awesome against the T-Wolves, and he looked like a rookie in this series.
The dunks, the big lob dunks when he has them are emphatic, and they can be, you think maybe they're going to be momentum shifting. But overall, I mean, the guy's a rookie. Like, he's rookie playing in the finals. I mean, this is...
How I looked
he
at
doesn't have the knowledge.
But Lively and Gafford outplayed $50 million men and Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns, and then... the small ball Celtics were the wrong matchup for them. They just couldn't really do their things.
To be honest, I think the Celtics would have been a terrible matchup specifically for the Mavericks. Obviously, we know that, but maybe for anybody.
Well, the Nuggets, that would have been very interesting. What if Jokic was pressuring Horford and Porzingis? And that would have been a different thing because they didn't really have to cover in the front court at all.
Listen, I think Jokic is the better player. I mean, Jokic is the better player, and I think the Nuggets are the better team. And the idea that now we're having, I know Rick Carlisle said it, and he knows more basketball than I'll ever know, but he's like, yeah, Luka's the best player in the world, and all of a sudden, Luka. It's like, guys, Jokic is the best, okay? They lost in Game 7 on their home floor. They lost. They were up by 20. Yes, it's unforgivable, but he's the best player.
But
let's not get it twisted here.
You might take Luka because he's younger if you're like drafting a team. Luka's awesome. I understand.
Who makes their teammates better?
Well, Luka, I mean, nobody's going to make these teammates better. Luka tries. I mean, the guy averages double-digit assists. I'm like crediting a style I don't love. But I did see him last night. You guys said that before the show, you were questioning the body energy a little bit when things started getting down.
I thought he was hanging his head.
He missed he missed a bunch of threes. He could not find his three in this series. But I think he made a lot of tough plays. He was unstoppable in the paint. He's obviously very good. I mean, you're saying he's not the best, but even the fact that you're having that conversation is a credit to Luka.
No doubt. But I mean, I think the Mavericks, to be honest, Lively is young, and these guys, I wasn't expecting PJ Washington to be the third best player on a championship team anyway. So, but man, they're kind of skating here. I mean,
wait. How are they skating?
Because Boston's getting all the credit, as they obviously should. But the Mavs were terrible in the series.
Yeah, no doubt. But
they were terrible.
But they, now I'm going to defend the Celtics. They faced a team that was better, more versatile.
Okay, maybe. But if you have the best player and you're arguing whether we have the best player in the league is on the other team and Kyrie Irving is not nothing,
He was not consistent in this series.
No, and he can't win in Boston. Let's just call it. It's a thing.
Yeah.
He can't win there. And he can sage the place, and he can talk about how he's exercising the demons, and he can try to make amends. Something is wrong in that building. And something happened last night, by the way, which we never really got a lot of clarity on. But Mike Breen at one point did say, someone in the front row said something. What did he say, EJ?
Disgraceful.
Disgraceful. I mean, come on, Boston. Keep it together for a freaking game. They can't even do that. But...
Well,
that building is not Kyrie and that building do not mix.
Forget the building. What about the fact that they have Drew Holiday and Derek White? I mean,
and how they built the team. That's why I gave the credit to Brad Stevens. You're telling me you think this is a one-off team, and I'm saying you got 26 and 27-year-old Jayson Tatum and Brad Stevens upstairs. That's a pretty hell of a good combo because how many teams would have stayed with Marcus Smart?
Well, I mean,
how many teams would have stayed with Malcolm Brogdon?
How many teams would have stayed? How many teams would have dumped Jaylen Brown or Tatum? That conversation was you got to split them up, and he held serve on that, and he kept them, and now they have a title.
And they're rewarded, and Jaylen Brown was the highest paid player in the NBA. I mean, that's like, you signed that contract. Like, whoa.
People laughed at him for that, too.
But,
well, let's give Danny Ainge credit, too, by the way, because this goes back to the Tatum draft as well. Like, a lot has started to happen, right? Like, all these moves are great, but they started doing this after the whole KG thing fell apart.
10 years in the making.
Yeah, that's why it was such a relief. There was such a sigh of relief when Tatum was up there. He was crying a lot. I think they expected this to happen in 2021. I can't remember the details of each year, but I think that all the Celtics thought this was going to happen easier than it did.
They definitely, people said it, the scar tissue. I mean,
yeah, for young players too. Tatum, you're right, is not that old, and it felt like, oh man, he's like finally after a lifetime of work. I'm like, you're 27.
You're right there, you're 26. You still have quite a lifetime to go, and Tatum's about to get majorly paid too. So, no, I mean, listen, were the Celtics perfect along the way? I think a couple things broke for them. You know, they really tried to go hard after Kevin Durant a couple different times, and KD wouldn't go there. If he's there, how different is this? I
mean, if Kyrie stays, are Tatum and Brown able to develop as much as they did with Kyrie on the team?
Gordon
Who knows?
Hayward's there. What's the difference?
Doesn't break his leg.
Doesn't break his leg, and he's healthy. What happens? There's a lot of what ifs. But listen, they didn't take any shortcuts. They said this last night on the podium. No shortcuts. They went through every stage of this in terms of working their way towards a title.
Well, shortcut. I mean, they did bring in veterans. Like they went kind of all in with Drew Holiday, Al Horford, and Porzingis too. In a sense, is an all-in move. Like you're not getting 10 years of Porzingis. So they did.
No, I'm talking about the bad losses.
Yeah.
They felt every part of this.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But I'm just saying. You said there were no shortcuts to this. Yeah, for Tatum and Brown, but they did kind of like Milwaukee. Like they built a veteran team around this. Like they needed some older guys to help with Tatum and Brown.
They filled roles, big ones. And they did it slowly. You know, Derek White came to, 3 years ago. And then, listen, Drew Holiday, like, that's just the Celtics being opportunistic.
Terrible situation with the Bucks there. How they just bungled that. I mean, I don't know if you talked about it last week, but, the spin doctor was back talking about how Damian Lillard, the first thing he told him was, I'm out of shape.
I'm out of shape.
I couldn't believe that quote. Because I heard why. Because he didn't want to work out. Because he didn't want to injure himself and lose $100 million.
Before the trade.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, Doc was back in full effect.
But by the way,
that was Bill Simmons' podcast last week. By the way, don't you get fined when you talk about another team's players when you're not on the team anymore? Maybe coaches don't. Maybe it's just general managers.
Well, Dame Lillard's on. What do you mean?
No, he was talking about Tatum and Brown.
Oh, Tatum and Brown.
Holiday.
Yeah. I guess.
Doc was talking about everybody. Like he's still coaching.
Yeah,
everyone.
he thought he was back at his ABC role.
By the way, why does Damian Lillard have to work out? The guy never runs. He runs from 3 feet outside one 3-point line to the other 3-point line. That is not a fitness man. And Damian Lillard is not big baby. I didn't understand what he was talking about. Like, what kind of shape is he in? Anyway, Yeah, I'm thinking more and more about this. I'm really doubling down on this. This is a 1 or 2 championship win team because they're going to get old fast, Maggie.
Can I ask you a question?
Brown and Tatum are getting up there.
Can I hold you to? Can I hold you to either 1 or 2? Because I think 1 or 2 is a big deal.
2 is a big deal.
I mean, the 70s Knicks got 2. The Rockets won back to back. Like we don't. Those teams aren't in the dustbin of history. Like we think of them. They may not be the Lakers or the Celtics.
Yeah, I agree with that because the Rockets in the 90s, that was a team.
2 is like, we talked about this with Bryson DeChambeau yesterday. It's like you win one major, you win a second, you really get into a different.
Like Dirk's Mavs are a true one-off.
Yeah.
Okay, but let me give you a counter that reminds me of this Boston team. and you guys probably both won't agree because of your age, but the 2000s Lakers, I do think there's a little asterisk because they never beat anybody. I don't think they're viewed the same way the 80s Lakers are. I think this Celtics team is going to be viewed as going through an easy road to get here.
Let's put
I mean, the
that
Lakers
on
beat
ice
the
for
Pacers
1 second.
and Nets. I mean, I saw some stats on that early team. I don't know.
Who they beat in the West, though? To me, their championship was always the Western Conference Finals.
But it was sort of a downtime in the NBA, and I feel like this is a downtime in the NBA. I just think that there's a lot of parity right now, and we'll see what happens going forward. I'm not betting on the Celtics to do more than 2, I'll tell you that.
Mr. Asterisk. Andrew
I
Perloff.
could asterisk any series.
I know, it's like a cottage industry for you.
Oh, yeah.
way to stake your claim.
But you know, the Cavs, when they're down 3-1, if Curry's knee was okay, that was never happening.
Glad you got that in there. Dexter Henry's with us. He's got headlines this morning. What's up, Dex?
What's up, guys? How you doing? All right, you guys talking about it. The basketball season came to a close last night. Celtics won their NBA record 18th title. They won Game 5 of the finals, dumping the Mavericks 106-88, 31 points, 8 boards, 11 assists from Jayson Tatum in the closeout game. Jaylen Brown, 21, 8, and 6. He was named finals MVP. But Tatum said the road to winning it all has been a long journey.
People have said it before, but coming up short and having failures makes this moment that much better. Because you know what it feels like to lose. You know what it feels like to be on the other side of this and be in a locker room and hearing the other team celebrate and having them celebrate on your home floor. Like, that was devastating.
No devastation for the Celtics this year, but a heartbreak for the Mavs. Kyrie Irving says the finals loss is a learning moment for his team.
I see an opportunity for us to really build our future in a positive manner where, this is almost like a regular thing for us, and we're competing for championships.
So Perloff says he will not bet on the Celtics fresh off winning the title, but the sportsbooks disagree. Celtics enter the offseason as a clear-cut betting favorites to win the 2025 NBA title.
Yeah,
well, now I will.
It's like a courtesy.
It's courtesy, right?
That's like a courtesy. You got to make the champion the preseason favorite.
No, I will bet on them now as an emotional hedge because all of a sudden, somehow you guys have forced me to throw in all my chips against the Celtics. I don't know how that happened, but they do have the East. I mean, like, who are they competing? They might as well walk into the finals again next year. Is there anybody who's going to be even halfway decent next year?
I think the East.
EJ, do it.
Well, EJ is a delusional Knicks fan. I'm going to say
I'm going to say the Knicks. I'm going to say the Knicks.
Well, here's the thing.
All right, I'm triple down on my Celtics bet. If that's what you got, then I'm tripling down.
Listen, we have plenty of time to talk about the Knicks, but basically free agency starts today.
Yep.
Or not, this is kind of a little bit of a change, a little tweak that teams can negotiate with their own players starting literally the moment the finals ends. So we'll see how the East might change. There could be
it's not
guys
even
shaking
East.
loose.
Forget the East. Guys, get it out of your mind. The East is not happening. Can the Oklahoma City Thunder add anyone? Can the Nuggets do anything? I know the Mavs are screwed because their cap. That's the only competition for the Celtics.
I truly am not trying to be Knicks rose-colored glass. I do really feel like next year is a collision course conference finals. This healthy Knicks version of this team versus the Celtics. I think it's a competitive series.
I agree.
All right, we have plenty of time to talk about the Knicks.
All right,
what else we got? Today's not the Knicks day.
No Knicks day today,
No.
but we've got NFL news with a contract stalemate between wide receiver Brandon AIYUK and the San Francisco 49ers. Continues to get a little bit more interesting. On Monday, the Niners wideout posted a video to TikTok, and in the video, AIYUK is talking via FaceTime with Washington Commanders quarterback JAYDEN Daniels. Remember, that's his former Arizona State teammate. In the video, AIYUK tells Daniels the 49ers don't want him back. But it's not clear whether AIYUK was implying the Niners don't want him back for this season, or he's saying the Niners don't want him beyond this season because they're unwilling to meet his demands on what will be a lucrative contract extension. So either way, guys, is AIYUK taking this to social media? Is that the best way for him to secure the bag? Yes or no?
To be honest, what was your first tip-off, Brandon AIYUK, that they don't want you? The fact that you've been in trade conversations for the last 4 months? When did you get the clue? Was it the draft? Was it anytime around the draft? Was it when the Jags were going to trade for you? Was it when the Patriots were going to trade for you? Maybe the Bills were going to trade for you? Pittsburgh? I'm glad he's getting the message here because I think the team's sending it pretty loud and clear.
But they said no to all those teams. And in fact, I've seen behind the scenes stuff where the Niners turned down a bunch of good offers. Like everybody called about it, AIYUK. So
I would say that if that were the Niners too.
I feel like he's being a little emotional. I feel like he's probably in his feelings about this.
Yeah.
About not getting the money. And I think the team is a little more rational. But that's the way
But the team can always play the long game.
Yeah, I mean, also, I'm not sure. I think they want AIYUK. They're just negotiating. I feel like AIYUK is taking this way too personally because this is just a dollars and cents thing, right? Or I mean, why is he on there saying that? That feels a little unprofessional to me.
Yeah, I will get to more of that later on in the show because AIYUK definitely made it messy.
He definitely did. All right, last thing, got some news from the world of golf. Rory McElroy, he has spoken after suffering a gut-wrenching collapse in Sunday's final round of the U.S. Open, where he had a 2-stroke lead with 5 holes to play, but lost to Bryson DeChambeau. Following the collapse, McElroy left the tournament without speaking to the media. The 4-time major champion did release a statement on X on Monday saying that he will take a few weeks off to, quote, process everything and build myself back up. Guys, we've seen this. We've seen other legends in the sport have collapses in majors, and they stayed. They talked to the media. Was Rory wrong for ducking the media here?
I don't know. I mean, you try not to judge somebody too much in that moment because, like, their life just flashed before their eye, their professional sort of life. I think it's fine. It's forgivable. It's fine.
I mean, it's the wrong. I agree with you, Maggie. I think it's the wrong move. I mean, technically, it's the wrong move, but it's not a lasting wrong move. I kind of get it.
I guess the worst part about it, and I get why there's no love lost between him and DeChambeau, would be like not congratulating the person who won the tournament is bad sportsmanship, I think. But he and DeChambeau are like, I don't know if they're enemies. He did thank him in that post.
He did.
But like, they have been on such opposite sides of live and everything else. Like, there's a lot of history there. So,
but doesn't that make it even more so that he needs to be there?
I think to congratulate the champion, yeah, he looks small for not sticking around to shake Bryson's hand.
I feel like
golf is supposed to be this gentleman sport.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And to some degree, I feel like golfers, I don't know, I feel like they're kind of getting a little bit of a pass. And Rory, and I actually really like Rory McIlroy, but I don't want to give him that pass. Like, I feel like if a guy missed a terrible shot, or, you know, when Kobe shot those air balls, like, he wasn't ducking the media after, you know, the conference finals. Like, you got to talk.
Yeah, but I don't know. On the list of sins that professional athletes can commit after a game, I don't think it's that high. But not shaking hands to your opponent, I think, is poor sportsmanship. I think the bigger thing with Rory is, don't you want to just get back out there? You want to wait around now? The British, you know, is in the middle of July. I know it's not that far away, but I'd want to get back on the course and just like flush this.
Because he was supposed to participate at TPC this weekend, but it's not going to do that, and it's going to take the time off. So
yeah, I mean, I'd want to get back on the course, but that's just me.
By the way, that kind of cracks me up that EJ compared Rory just blowing this U.S. Open to Kobe's 3 air balls when Kobe was 19 years old. Rory has so much scar tissue. It's totally different. There's 10 years of this agony.
He should be used to having to talk to the media after travel, right?
You should have like, talking points like on a page. It's like, all right, here,
That's awful.
If I miss a putt inside of 3 feet, say this. If I miss 2 short putts in the last 3 holes, say this.
He's had plenty of practice.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. Coming up, okay, now the finals are over. We're still talking about it today. Of course, you're welcome to weigh in on the Celtics. We're asking, are they an all-time great team to you, or does this just feel like a one-off? I say they're more likely to be an all-time great team. Perloff believes this is closer to a one-off. The runway is now clear for the Celtics' biggest rival. We'll tell you what's up with them next. Maggie Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, and we're going to talk more about that and whether this is an all-time team or more of a one-off team in the NBA. But Perloff, for the Celtics' greatest rival, the Los Angeles Lakers, who the Celtics passed last night for the most championships in the history of the NBA. Now the Celtics have 18.
It's a little, you're kind of selling the Celtics-Sixers rivalry short, by the way, but please go ahead.
Yeah, I am. How many banners did the Sixers have?
They only played in the playoffs for like 37 straight years, but go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so.
Did you ever hear Will Chamberlain, Bill Russell, Larry Bird, Dr. J, to ring a bell? I mean, I know these are older players.
Yes, I did. Will Chamberlain played for the Lakers.
Wow, sort of.
Lakers-Celtics is the all-time rivalry, but sure, if you want to drag Philly into this conversation, then I guess I can't stop you. But what I'm getting at is that while the Celtics are raising a banner, and while the Celtics got through a very thorny coaching situation with Ime Udoka and seem to have come out on the other side, meanwhile, here are the Lakers, who are going to be looking for their fifth coach since Phil Jackson. And they don't seem to be able to get this thing right. And now they're sitting here with options of being, whether they actually were genuine about Dan Hurley, that's now gone. And the runway is now clear for JJ Reddick to take over this team. And it looks like it's going to happen.
What do you mean if they were genuine? They did make an offer.
Right. But there's a lot of people, including you, who thought that the amount of money they offered him was not indicative of like a real all-in, we've got to have this guy sort of price, when that's sort of how it was painted in the media.
Well, the two-time defending champion in college basketball, I would have thought they'd make him the first or second highest paid coach in the NBA. A new coach, kind of next man up, I thought it would have been the highest paid. So you're right, I was skeptical of that. I mean, let's face it, the Lakers are getting old. I mean, LeBron's 40. So what do you expect? I mean, what
does that have to do with the coaching search?
Well, I'm just saying, like, this, because it has to do, like, I don't think this team, no matter who the coach is on the brink of a champion because of the way the roster.
Sure.
So that's really what I'm saying. I don't know what the goal is with JJ Reddick. Are you trying to eke out one more title with LeBron, or are you building for the future, where Danny Hurley seemed, as we said, both a short-term plan and a long-term plan? JJ Reddick is an unknown.
Yeah, and there was so much going on with that Hurley thing. But now for JJ, I think the answer is win now, because, you know, his relationship with LeBron, and I know Pete loves the podcast, major subscriber to the I don't even mind the game.
Yes.
Number one fan, drinking the wine
game.
right alongside him, like a
Mind
watch
their
along.
game.
Mind the P's and Q's. Obviously, the relationship with LeBron has something to do with this, right? JJ is interviewed at other places, so he's clearly wants to coach, but you know, you can't say that he doesn't have a leg up that James Borrego doesn't have, because the guy's got a podcast with the star player on the team. So, yeah, I think it's about LeBron right now. And then if JJ actually works out, which I don't even know what the definition of working out even means, because they won a title with Frank Vogel and fired him, and they got to the Western Conference Finals with Darvin Ham and then fired him. So outside of starting a new dynasty with the Lakers, I'm not really sure what JJ Reddick can do to hold on to this job.
Yeah, I think we're looking at the last few years of Kobe, the post-championship Kobe, where they're trying to stay relevant. Well, they're trying to win a title, but I think the best case scenario is they stay relevant. Like, Kobe was interesting toward the end. He said, Kobe, if LeBron stays there. I read this article, I think it was the Wall Street Journal, about LeBron's business empire in LA. It's no joke. It's very, very serious. So I just don't think championship is the number one priority right now. Yeah, I mean, it is the number one, but it's not the all-encompassing, we got to get over that hump, because the dude is 40 years old. What do you expect? I mean, you're not going to all of a sudden find a coach who can turn back time.
No, but he was like an all-NBA player this year. I mean, LeBron, like, that's the thing. I know he's 40 and at some point, but like, we haven't seen it. He's still a really good player. Anthony Davis was healthy this year. He's still a good player. The roster is not terrible.
Well, I mean, it's flawed. D'Angelo Russell is a big part of that offense, and I don't think a lot of people really want him. And I think the Lakers would love to move on from him.
He might opt out, so you might not have to worry about it.
If he opts out, but I don't think he's going to. But
I mean, that's one player. They've also have made other changes around the roster with, you know, Austin Reeves and Hachimura and Gabe Vincent and some other guys. They tried to put together more of a real team.
They're trying to glue it together with random parts, and I'm not sure that that's working. I mean, you just said Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves.
They paid these guys. I mean, they clearly want these dudes.
Maybe they want them, but is that really championship caliber sporting cast?
Maybe not, but again, you have two players in LeBron and Anthony Davis. I think this thing is, I get it. LeBron has this like empire, you know, media and otherwise. I get it. Bronny coming to the league is going to be big, and there's some new maybe rumors about Bronny and what his situation is. We'll get to that later. But there's another part of this too, which is I feel like LeBron has been too good and like really never mailed it in. I feel like he's owed a little bit more than just, he's all about just staying in LA with no chance to win because his media empire is there. Like, don't we have 22 years of the contrary where the guy's trying he doesn't have mail-it-in seasons?
But to Paul's point, though, I mean, what are we seeing from him? He wants to hire his podcast host as his coach, and he wants to put his son on the team. These are not championship moves.
Okay, but who's got a better idea? I said the Lakers have had 5 coaches since Phil Jackson. I'm sorry, I shorted them a couple. If you can count interims, it's actually been 7.
This is not LeBron behavior at all. He's always left in this situation. The LA Times article, LeBron Inc., the collective is bigger than basketball, all about his entertainment empire. That is the priority right now. And being a sports dad and watching NFL games. Dominating Madden, by the way. We didn't even talk about that. Do you know he's 164th best Madden player in the world?
That's shocking to me, actually.
Is that really true?
That can't be.
No, but he said it.
Nothing he says is real.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Celtics win the Larry O'Brien. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. It was a blowout victory, so lots of time to savor this and let it sink in for the Celtics, who have had quite a long road. We've been talking this morning about whether or not this is a impressive and how impressive the Celtics team is. Are they going to go down as an all-time great team or maybe just a one-off team? We're asking you on X at Maggie and Pearl, how many championships do you think that the Boston Celtics will win? You can choose 1, 2, or more than 2. So there you go. 3 or more.
What's the result?
Right now, 1 is trending at 60%. So people are kind of with you, Pearl, on this feels a little closer to a one-off. The reason why I like this team to be more than that is they've been knocking on the door and, quite frankly, banging their heads against this door for quite some time. This is not a team that came out of nowhere, almost like the Mavs felt a little bit this year. Even though the Mavs have been to the Western Conference Finals, but you know what I mean. The Celtics have been consistently one of the best teams in the NBA, and they finally win. Their stars are 26 and 27, and their front office, I think, is probably one of the best in the entire league. So I would feel bullish if I am the Celtics, and they are in the Eastern Conference. And I know you think that provides just a bit of an asterisk. Their road to the finals was easy, quote unquote, but it also sets up well for them maybe for future titles.
Absolutely. I mean, this road was particularly easy because of injuries. You can't ignore that Giannis wasn't in the field. Of course, EMBIID was not in the field because he never is. Jimmy Butler got hurt. So this year was particularly weak. I do think moving forward, we looked at the Vegas odds. I think Dexter Henry said it's plus 280 for the Celtics. You know they're going to be there deep in the playoffs because they always are. The question is, in this NBA, it's really not even about the Celtics. It's the way the structure of the league is. Is there any possible way you can have another dynasty? If there's going to be a dynasty, I'm sorry, this is not a talented enough team to be it. That's what I'm saying. They basically, Drew Holiday's 34, Al Horford's 37, Kristaps Porzingis is getting surgery. Yes, Tatum and Brown are amazing, but I think a big part of the story of this team is the role players. And I don't know if you're going to get Drew Holiday to be this effective for 2 or 3 more years. Well,
I mean, so far, you're still getting a guy who can be a lockdown defender. And
how is he so good at this age?
Well, I mean, because he's an elite athlete. That's why. Derek White is not old. And again, I would trust that front office. I think Joe Mazzulla is kind of a quirky dude, might not jive with me as far as like a management style, but clearly the guy's pushing the right buttons. You know, he knows his team and they dig this vibe. So they're all pulling in the right direction.
Derek White about to turn 30. He's not young. That's not young in the NBA terms. And Joe Mazzulla has his all-star staff around him with Sam Cassell, the next Hornets coach. He did have Jeff Van Gundy.
We have a little breaking
consulting
news already this morning.
Yeah, I don't know if that coaching staff, and first of all, Ime Udoka took half the staff, and now half the staff's getting new jobs. Like, I don't know if that coaching staff can even stay together.
So as Perloff mentioned, the team hired Jeff Van Gundy as a consultant last year after he was fired from ESPN's broadcast, and could have used him last night. But anyway, he now has been hired as Ty Lue's lead assistant in LA for the Clippers. So Jeff Van Gundy is going to be switching coasts, and he's going to be Ty Lue's lead assistant. So that's news that literally broke 30 seconds ago. 855-212-4227. Sean is our pal in Oregon. We were talking about the Lakers and the Celtics. Sort of one team, obviously, top of the world today. Another team on the verge of hiring maybe JJ Reddick as their next head coach. Sean, how are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm with Perloff on this. I think these guys are a one-off. Yeah, there's so many teams that were just kind of didn't make it there. Guys got hurt. You know, in the NBA, it's such a grind. I think it's a lot of times it's last man standing.
Yep.
And there's so many teams, like you're saying, knocking at the door. And I want to point out, since the ABA-NBA merger, the Celtics have now won 5 championships, and the Lakers have 11.
Okay. Oh, so you're...
And I'm going to say...
Okay, but hold on, Sean, though, 1 second, though. And I'm not trying to just be the person who lives in the moment, but even if you are, have all of your purple and gold on and you bleed Laker colors, wouldn't you say that the Celtics appear to be a bit of a better front office than what's going on with the Lakers right now? Do you trust that front office?
I don't trust any front office.
Oh, okay.
I'm just like, I'm a believer, but I'm untrusting in people.
I mean,
Let's just put it
fair.
that way.
Let's unpack that, Sean. We're going to have to charge you by the hour. Thank you so much for calling in.
One counter is you don't really need a brilliant front office to get free agents to come to LA because they got Shaq, they got LeBron. So maybe that LA advantage gives you something. If you look at front offices moving forward, they'll get another. I mean, in 2 or 3 years, they'll get another LeBron. They'll get another Shaq. They always do. They have throughout their entire history.
Yeah, who is that? Giannis or someone like that down the line?
No. I mean, like, I think you need someone younger.
Oh.
They'll get maybe LeBron was a little bit older, but they'll be a dominant force. Maybe Wemby.
Yeah, I guess maybe I go back and forth because the Lakers are hard to read. Because who's making the decisions? How much is it Jeannie Buss? Is it the Rob Pelinka? Is it the Rambus the team, the duo of Kurt and Linda, the Rambuses? Is it Clutch Sports? I mean, how much of an influence does LeBron and his agency have on this team? I think it's a lot, and I thought they were felt like they were pretty embarrassed by the Dan Hurley thing, but that's still so much weird stuff going on around that whole Dan Hurley situation.
Well, I mean, who's the front office who wooed LeBron? Nobody. I mean, LeBron wooed himself to L.A.
Pat Riley.
Pat Riley?
To Miami.
To Miami.
No, I'm saying to L.A.
Oh, who wooed him to? Yeah, but at that point, he was
living in L.A.
He was making a
That's what I'm saying.
decision to go to L.A.
That's saying the front office had nothing to do with that. LeBron placed himself on the Lakers, and I think another star could do that because there is a certain power of the Lakers franchise and a lifestyle where the Celtics are also a great franchise, obviously. And I don't even think Sean was denigrating the Celtics. They're brilliant. They have all the rings. But, I mean, free agents
harder to play there, no doubt.
Free agents are definitely going to go to L.A. at some point. Although Jaylen Brown's house is amazing in Boston, beautiful. I do think L.A. is a draw. So I think the Lakers are going to be fine. I think they reinvent themselves. LeBron, they'll cycle out of this. Teams get old. In 5 years, there's going to be somebody there. I don't know who it is, Maggie. Mark my words, they're going to have a championship-level team.
But the only thing right now for the Lakers, they need to not worry so much about the signing the guy and drafting the guy correctly, because I'm looking at the Celtics and the two guys we've been talking about all morning, Tatum and Brown.
Yeah.
The Lakers, in theory, I know Tatum's a little complicated, but in theory, they could have had both of those guys, right? Because they drafted Ingram ahead of Tatum. They drafted Lonzo Ball ahead of
Lonzo Ball in front of Tatum.
Well, Ball in front of Tatum, Ingram in front of Jaylen Brown. So they had their cracks at the apple, and they flopped.
D'Angelo Russell, Julius Randle, and Lonzo Ball, all second overall picks for the Lakers.
Right, but they couldn't have had Tatum, and my Sixers couldn't have had Tatum because Boston only did that deal because they knew that Ball was already going to the Lakers.
Right, but that's stupid. I mean, in theory, like if Magic knew and Magic and Pelinka were smart, they would have actually maybe looked at Tatum seriously, and maybe that changes the calculus. They telegraphed what they were going to do, and that made it easy for Danny Ainge. And we're talking about the Celtics and their longevity and whether or not they could actually win a title or 2 or 3 or 4. With the Lakers, we're like, can they even compete? And it's like, well, yeah, because we're talking about a bunch of old guys.
It was a strange time. LeVar Ball was playing mind games with all of us. They kind of had to take Lonzo at that point. I know what you're saying, but that being said, you got to think bigger term here. 5 to 10 years, LeBron's going to be long gone from the NBA. This Lakers team is going to look much differently. I don't think Pelinka is going to be there. I imagine Danny Hurley was Pelinka's last stand, and that failed. So I think that the Lakers will redefine themselves because they always have. They went down at the end of the Kobe era and came back. Yeah. I mean, the Celtics are similar. Like they went down after KG and Pierce, and they fought their way back with brilliant moves. So I'm not sure what this genesis this conversation. I don't really agree with Sean that the Lakers are head and shoulders. I think they're tied. I think they're both like the creme de la creme of franchises.
Yeah, and I would say I think the Lakers, the Celtics have they're definitely set up much better right now.
Yeah, right
definitely
now.
Because Tatum and Brown are so young and so good, and they won last night, and the Lakers have been home for weeks.
And to the Celtics' credit, I think, like we talked about, I mean, the Lakers have so much more going into their favor, right? Like the Celtics, they have to basically beg guys to go there. KG didn't really initially want to go there. Ray Allen didn't initially want to go there. And a lot of guys have spurned them, and they still found a way to win this title. Where the Lakers, LeBron's falling in their lap, and Shaq is falling in their lap.
No, EJ, you're forgetting the California tax is very prohibitive. Apparently, $70 million isn't enough to get a college coach.
Massachusetts ain't no joke.
Yeah, both are pretty bad. 855-212-4227. So you're welcome to weigh in on the Celtics. They win last night. Does this feel like an all-time great team, kind of set up for more, or does it feel like a one-off, which is just sort of what's been happening right now in the NBA. Can we pull out a couple other things, smaller things that happened last night that are going to have that had a big impact on the game and things that just want to be noted? The Peyton Pritchard halftime buzzer beater and the fact that he has created this sort of role for himself where this is the second halftime buzzer beater that he's hit in this series. And this is like his job. It's like he's a specialist, like he's a long snapper or something. Like you got one job. It's to come in. It's to make heaves. And he's actually done it twice in the finals.
Well, right. I mean, if you actually, it's obviously not his only job.
Well, I know, but he wasn't great in the series, actually.
But
he's getting torched.
He plays a ton of minutes, usually. I think everybody knew that shot was going in last night. Did you know? The second it left his hands, I'm like, oh, he's doing it again. I didn't even need to see it go in. I turned away and went to the kitchen for halftime.
Here's what it sounded like.
Pritchard, half court, it's in the air. He got it! He did it again! Peyton Pritchard did it again with the world watching. He knocks down a half-court three that will send the Boston Celtics into the locker room with a 21-point lead.
I thank you to Celtics Radio. I forgot who said this, but it's like a buzzer beater going into halftime will always be like you can be down 20.
I know.
And you hit the buzzer beater. It's like, well, they just, maybe they get a little something going in the second half.
I mean, I've seen that happen in like junior high school gyms, and people go, "Oh!" It's like always the same reaction.
They always say that the biggest momentum shifters in basketball, this is the cliche, are dunks and charges, but like it gets the crowd into it. But I think half court heave is definitely got to be a first, like a number one seed in terms of momentum.
It's like an inside the park home run. It's like it's never going to be exciting. It's never not going to be exciting, no matter what the circumstances are.
Yeah, fair. I like that. So that was a funny one last night. Here's another funny one. And EJ, I don't know if you can find this. I forgot to ask you for this before the show. The podium. They're giving out the trophy. Lisa Salters. We all know her. She's on every big thing, every big broadcast. Like she's an accomplished sideline reporter, journalist, multiple Emmy winner, all of that stuff. Pearl, she's handing the trophy to Wyc Grousbeck, who's the principal owner of the Boston Celtics, and he goes, "Thanks, Michelle."
Okay.
That's not even close to Lisa.
I would totally forgive him for not knowing Lisa Salter's name, but you're right. He should have just said thank you.
I mean, who did he think she was? Who's Michelle?
No idea.
Also, Lisa's definitely probably given him a trophy before because they've won in Eastern Conference Finals, right? Unless that was a team. No, that was ESPN one when they won.
Listen, I don't think it's also not for lack of Lisa Salters like hustling, knowing all the main principals and players in the series and but for some reason he called her Michelle. Silly.
Yeah, that's bad. I'm not going to give him a pass for that.
I mean, come on.
He's got to know. I don't know. I also assume that, like, if you're the owner of the team, you have people who they're preparing your speech-ish, whatever. Like, he's not going up that freestyle. So they're saying, hey, here's going to give you the trophy. Here's who's going to interview you. Like, I would think you got those notes.
I mean, they had a 20-point lead.
Yeah, he should have been ready, with that in 4 minutes left in the second quarter.
I know. I mean, obviously, like, Sean Grandy wrote a monologue, like, everyone knew what was happening here. It wasn't like in the moment buzzer beater to win the title.
My dream of all dreams is Maggie hits the lottery and buys a team because nobody dislikes owners of an NBA.
I wouldn't buy one.
You found a negative for the owner in this situation.
I thought it was funny. I think it's funny. He's like, hey, Michelle. It's like, I feel like when it reminds me a little, this is very different, but like the scene in Wedding Crashers when he's like, I don't know, Sarah, this is going pretty fast. And she's like, it's Vivian. Like, it's just so far off on the name. And obviously there's not the same relationship, but it's like, you're not even close. It's not Lisa to Lauren. It's like Lisa to Michelle.
I think Wyc Grousbeck's going to be fine.
No, I know. He's sitting pretty right now.
There's a lot going on, though, I think. It was like Jaylen Brown dropping F-bombs, and Wyc don't know who he's talking to, and they don't have an order of who's talking on the podium. And Lisa's like, who else wants to talk?
Yeah, I'm just going to ask questions, and I do want to answer them, except for Al Horford. Come up.
I was waiting for that call, Xavier Tillman. Xavier Tillman Sr., come up.
That big three hit. And Xavier Tillman, what was that game that he hit a three?
Game three.
Yeah, that was huge.
And we really didn't hear from him much.
Could you believe he's like 26 years old?
Yeah, I was surprised.
Anytime you put senior on the end of your name, you seem older.
It's just but also he looks older. He looks like he's 35. If I didn't watch him at Michigan State, I think he's 35.
He's seasoned. 855-212-4227. Your thoughts on the Celtics. Coming up, we will get into, for you guys in Northern California, our 49er fans, the latest with Brandon AIYUK and what's going on. He's taking it to social media, everybody. So you got that. Contract disputes spilling over onto the socials. What did he say? Why does it matter? We'll tell you next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Take a break from this NBA talk. Shift our attention to the NFL. Still a few big contracts out there that have not been signed. Two is out there. But I think maybe the most interesting and mysterious situation is Brandon AIYUK in San Francisco. Now, listen, you know where I stand on this one, Maggie. I don't think a team like San Francisco needs to pay up for a wide receiver. You have Kyle Shanahan as your coach. You're already paying Debo. You have a quarterback you're going to have to pay next year. So they're playing hardball with Brandon AIYUK. My sense is Brandon AIYUK is not a fan of the 49ers front office strategy.
No, I don't think he's loving it, considering he's actually holding out, even as opposed to holding in. Like, he's just not even showing up. Here was AIYUK yesterday. He posted this on his own social media. It's him FaceTiming with somebody, and you're not sure who it is, and then it's revealed it's JAYDEN Daniels of the Washington Commanders, the quarterback, who was a teammate of Brandon AIYUK's at Arizona State. So here's AIYUK.
What? They said they don't want me back. I swear.
There you go. So Daniels kind of, I don't know what kind of pull a rookie could have with the Commanders to try to get Brandon AIYUK. I mean, they've got Terry McLaurin as their number one receiver. So I don't know. I don't think that JAYDEN Daniels can make this kind of magic happen for his former teammate. But clearly AIYUK does not feel wanted by the 49ers right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way they actually said, like, who they? Like, John Lynch called Brandon AIYUK's agent and said, we don't want you. That never happened. I don't understand what he's talking about.
Well, I think he's connecting the dots that he doesn't have a contract right now.
Right, but the way he said it, yeah, it felt like he was being a bit emotional about it because I don't think they actually said that. You're right. I think he was connecting the dots. It's business. I'm sorry, Brandon, that you're going to get paid by somebody, so I'm not sure that was the wisest move to get out there. Now, I assume he did know that was going to go public, right?
He posted it.
Oh, he posted it, yeah.
He posted it.
So, yes.
So, yeah, you could question whether he's just doing it to get some publicity about it, and we're playing right into it. And I guess, like, here's the thing. You know, you have contract disputes all the time. The 49ers have them all the time. They did this with Debo. They did this with Nick Bosa. Literally last year, they made the Super Bowl. They were in overtime of the Super Bowl. It meant nothing. However, this is getting messy now. You know, Debo's, yeah, he was out there in the media a little bit, but again, he was doing the hold-in thing where he was still showing up to camp. This is now starting to get messy. Again, I don't know what I think the bigger thing for the 49ers is it's really hard to get back to the Super Bowl after you've won. After you've lost. We've seen this with great teams have not been able to get back. There's an emotional toll, I think, that happens. Now, they're favored in every game on their schedule this season, so in theory, they should walk back to the playoffs easily and maybe even get back to the big game. But this stuff just is messy. I mean, keep your house in order, 49ers.
I don't blame the 49ers. I blame AIYUK on this one. The 49ers are fine. They have loads of talent with or without AIYUK.
Then trade him. If you have these great offers, then trade him.
You clearly don't have these great offers. Otherwise, he'd be gone. You probably have people trying to bargain hunt here.
No, but you told me before they've had some good offers and they didn't take them. So I don't know what these good offers are.
Did I tell you that?
You just told me that.
Run back to tape.
Wait, I said
like an hour ago.
I said that the 49ers had good. No, I think that they probably didn't get the offer they wanted at the draft. The other teams a lot of teams in their background said we tried to get AIYUK and they wouldn't give him. But I bet you anything they were not giving up the right picks.
Yeah, listen, if you want him for one more year,
you might as well go all in.
Okay, by the way, I would almost then be on it. Listen, you have to show your cards with everyone. You're the front office. This is a player. There's competing motivations here. But if it's just to be about this year, I think it's worth it to have a conversation with the guy. Like, hey, I think that the Bengals may have had a conversation with T. Higgins. Like, this was different as the franchise tag, but just say, listen, like, it's not happening for you this year or whatever. Say whatever so that you avoid this. Like,
Well,
there's
let
a
me
way
ask
to
you-
be down the middle on this.
But you say this
Yeah.
drama, does this ever affect the win-losses? I mean, I think there are a lot of famous holdouts where the team went on to win a Super Bowl. Emmitt Smith famously, he missed the first two games and they went on to win. Last year, Chris Jones held out, right? He was at the game.
Yeah.
They went on to win a Super Bowl. I think teams this is negotiation, and I think the Niners have a lot of veterans around. Let's face it.
Sure.
I mean, first of all, to be the biggest pain in the neck of wide receiver, you have to be more of a bigger pain than Debo. That's hard. But if you want a model for a team that keeps on coming close and finally wins,
Boston Celtics.
the Boston Celtics are the Niners bringing Joe Mazzulla to pump him up in the offseason. I just think it's just funny we're talking about this. The Niners are the Boston Celtics of the NFL. They dominate a bad conference, and they're probably going to dominate that conference again.
You know, it's a fair analogy. I actually like it. It's a good comp. And we'll see. Of all the people who are even associated with the Celtics, I think Joe Mazzulla would be last on the list of the people I would bring in for a pump-up speech.
Oh, that's so mean, Maggie. Come on.
Not to run
the
the
guy
X's
just
and
won an
O's.
NBA title.
I'm just saying for the speech. John's in New Jersey, wants to weigh in on the Celtics. Hey, John.
Yes, good morning, Maggie. Good morning, Paul. Good morning, everyone on the show. Just ecstatic, lifelong Boston Celtics fan here. My sixth championship. If you guys remember, I called once earlier to use. I was the guy that became a Celtics fan when the triple overtime game against Celtics to Phoenix there.
Okay.
But I haven't heard no one mention this morning or last night. I think one integral part of this Celtics championship, Maggie and Perloff, was the front office hiring Sam Cassell as an assistant coach. You know, his championship pedigree, his resume. Just wanted to hear you guys touch base on that.
John, I mentioned him earlier in the show. It's not just Cassell. It's Jeff Van Gundy in the front office. It's Charles Lee, the next Hornets coach. That's an all-star coaching staff. And they lost a bunch of guys with Ime Udoka. So that is one thing about this. We were debating, are the Celtics a one-off? Are they going to win 2 or 3? That's kind of like the NFL. You do lose your coaches. That is an important factor. And Cassell was front and center last night. I mean, I think Kyrie came over and hugged him, but I noticed Sam Cassell is a very noticeable presence on that team, and I think he's an important part of it.
I think Sam Cassell will eventually be a good coach. I mean, I remember this hanging around when he was still playing. He would be hanging around in the playoffs, like just going to games, just to talk to people. Like, you could tell he was setting up his next career in coaching. It's kind of odd that he's been an assistant since 2009 and has never gotten a head coaching look. And I believe, did he interview with the Lakers? He did, and still didn't get that job.
Well, don't they want him to come in and be JJ's top assistant? He's like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Isn't that the rumor out there?
It was disrespectful.
Yeah,
I mean, come on. The guy just helped lead the team to a championship. It's like, hey, be LeBron's podcast host, lead assistant.
Yeah, prop him up, right?
But it's interesting. The other coach, Charles Lee, got the Hornets job. I don't know if Cassell interviewed for that. But that guy also looks like a very cool coach. Like, people respond to him as well.
And maybe this will change because the other stops that Cassell has had in terms of being a coach were the Wizards, the Clippers, and your Philadelphia 76ers. So that's not winning. And now he is winning with the Celtics. So maybe that helps a little bit in terms of his head coaching prospects. Frank's in Georgia. Good morning, Frank.
Good morning, everyone. How are we doing today?
We're doing great. We're on Cloud 9 here talking about the Celtics championship.
Oh, me too. How about my boys from Boston? I love these. This is a great team. I love watching them all season long. I feel so happy for Tatum. I think he deserved it. I think he deserved it a couple of years ago. And I really hope they can win more than just one. I think they'll win 2. But, you know, with the way NBA is set up, it's not like it was with, like, Larry Bird and Kevin McHale and, you know, Magic and Kareem. They don't have these dynasties like they have anymore. So if they can get to a second, that'd be great. It's just so difficult to kind of retain these players. Like they can't do that now like they did back in the day. You know, and then with the Lakers are so far from a championship. The biggest problem the Lakers have is LeBron. In my opinion.
You know, Frank, it's funny. When I think of LeBron on the Lakers, and Frank, thanks so much. Congrats to your Celtics. So you can hear a little of that Boston tinge in your accent there, even though you're calling us from Georgia. That's awesome. LeBron on the Lakers reminds me, Pearl, I know you're a big Simpsons guy.
Oh, yeah.
And it reminds me of the famous Simpsons quote where Homer says, beer. the cause of and solution to all life's problems.
Right.
It's like LeBron might be the reason, but he's also the reason that they're anywhere close to the playoffs. He's kind of both.
Perfect analogy, right? You can't, and much like beer, you can't quit him even if you want to.
It's hard.
It takes a program to get rid of LeBron.
Many steps.
Yeah. The LA LeBron Anonymous. Yeah, I mean, the truth is, you're right. The Lakers have no choice. They have to draft Bronny and go all in. What choice do they have? What are they going to say? No thanks. We're going to build around Anthony Davis. Ha!
Okay, well, here's yeah, right. So here's the funny part about that. There's been a little, and this is on Bill Simmons' podcast. Checked Bill out a little bit yesterday. And he and Ryan Russillo were talking about this, and they kind of didn't report it, but they kind of felt like a little bit of a informed rumor, was the idea that Clutch, the agency that LeBron started, has made it known that if you draft Bronny in the first round, LeBron could follow him.
Ooh.
Again, this Truman Show stuff around Bronny, this is what a weird life this dude's living. Anyway, and no fault of his own. But again, he could be a second-round pick of the Lakers, which still kind of would stretch the imagination, considering his college career was not remarkable.
4 points a game on a losing team.
Thank you. And that doesn't exactly scream first-round pick, no matter what kind of projected upside you could have a crystal ball, and I don't think you could project that kind of upside. But that was at least some little rumor that Bill Simmons was talking.
Okay, it's finally time.
By the way, Bill's usually wrong about all this stuff, but anyway.
But he's been right on some of those things. I mean, it is somewhat informed opinion.
I think that Bill had the wrong Suns head coach. He definitely said the Knicks were for sale.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
But
he's got some LeBron things right.
And listen, the other part too is, as far as Bill, I've met him a couple times. He's very nice to me, and he's hired a lot of our friends, and apparently is a really great boss.
Oh yeah.
So I don't want to denigrate Bill, but listen, he's taken a couple shots they've missed.
First of all, cut me out of that part of the podcast where Maggie.
Bill was nice to me. He kind of ripped me a little when I got the job at the Fan, but whatever. Everyone did. It was open season.
So my Sixers. This is time for finally get past the mistake of not drafting Kobe Bryant and take Bronny James at 16, bring LeBron home to Philadelphia. Come on, it's already in the ether. He's already looked at schools. He's already looked at schools.
Looked at schools.
Hey, that's a famous thing. LeBron, before he came to LA, was apparently looking at Lower Merion, my alma mater. So, this could make sense. There has been rumors. Heck, we're going for Paul George. LeBron's just an older Paul George. It's amazing. There's so many teams that could draft Bronny to bring in LeBron. There was a rumor the Mavs were interested. So why not? The Mavs would be a great fit. Well, Phoenix worked him out.
Yeah, this all feels so staged.
I don't know how Phoenix would get him, by the way. They're in the second apron, which means you're in jail. So
no, LeBron would have to play for $500,000.
Yeah, he had to pay them to join the Suns.
Wait, EJ, you're a big draft Nick for the NBA. They really, once you get past the first few, these picks do not have the value of a normal draft. Am I correct? So you can throw away a pick on Bronny. It's not a problem, right?
I would not do that. I think that's ill-advised. Could someone think that? Sure. But
if you're getting assurances behind the scenes that LeBron's coming.
If you're getting assurances, and you think that is worth the risk of passing up on a guy who maybe is undervalued and ends up being good. Every draft, even the bad ones, have a couple of really good players. So you could still be passing up somebody.
Well, here's the question, too. If you're Phoenix, so you've got KD, you've got Bradley Beal, and you've got Devin Booker, and now you'd add LeBron to the mix?
Don't forget Bronny.
The most important piece.
The Phoenix is
weirdly, he's the linchpin to the entire thing.
I mean, he could probably play for that team, actually.
He was starting that team.
Yeah.
It was always the irony that Dan Hurley was going to come coach the Lakers because of Bronny when Bronny couldn't crack the starting five at UConn.
Yeah. Phoenix is at 22. There's a lot of rumors that they're going to ship Booker out, too. I don't know.
One thing that should be noted, I want to say, is that LeBron could opt out of his contract, right? Which is the thing that hasn't been talked about.
Most likely going to do that.
He's most likely going to do it. And Rich Paul slipped up and said that. I think it was on TNT a couple weeks ago. So
I mean, really him opting back in. Dexter Henry's here with us this morning. Him opting back in for $50 million for 1 year. I mean, why? If you're going to play with Bronny, play with him.
Well, here's the reason why you would do that. If you're LeBron, you say, I don't want to play for $5 or pay the Suns to play for them. You could say, I'm going to opt in for this 1 year.
Yeah.
That team, whoever drafted Bronny, figure out your cap situation so that I can get paid correctly and then join you next year.
LeBron always does like to do these 1 year things to kind of keep everyone like on notice.
That'd be the only reason I could see him doing that.
But I'm telling you, he's changed. He would normally be long gone from LA. The fact that he still hasn't left for wherever, for Cleveland, Atlanta, Miami, I don't know. He's
Golden State,
I think his
Phoenix.
calculus has changed.
Well, we're still figuring it out because the draft's going to happen before he has to make a decision on his contract. So draft happens first, and I think it's 2 days later, then LeBron has the deadline, something like that.
29th, yep.
Yep. Dexter's here with headlines. By the way, you're welcome to weigh in on all of this, especially the Celtics. Happy Celtics fans all over the nation today. 855-212-4227. Curious from the Mavs fans, where are you guys on this whole thing? Dexter, what else is going on in the world?
All right, here's what's going on. Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson, we know that he's looking to bounce back in 2024 as he prepares to return from a shoulder injury that ended his 2023 season. And Cleveland general manager Andrew Berry says the QB is, quote, ahead of schedule. So as of right now, Watson is in line to return at full strength at the start of the season. Now, guys, we know this. June is optimism season, as I like to call it, when it comes to the NFL. But is the upcoming season a make-or-break season in your eyes for Deshaun Watson and the Browns?
No, the dude's got guaranteed money. Make or break what?
Well, their chances. But you're right. His bank account is fine. You're right about that.
I would have been looking at quarterbacks this year if I were them.
But why? You have to pay Deshaun for the next 2 years, right?
Well, because I need like they signed two legit backups. Jameis Winston and Snoop Huntley are both there, along with Dorian Thompson-Robinson. And I thought it was weird that they couldn't bring back Joe Flacco, allegedly, because they were worried about, like, splitting the locker room. You got problems if Joe Flacco is going to be taking the shine away from the dude you gave $230 million to. This Joe Flacco.
I agree.
Joe Flacco back then, you'd be worried about it.
But I think you're viewing it the wrong way because it's a sunk cost in Deshaun. It happened already. There's nothing that you can't go back in time and not pay that guaranteed money for a guy who's not going to be on the field. So the question is, where are they now with him? Right. And I think I think it's not make or break in the sense that like they're going to give it their best shot, and if it doesn't work, they're going to come back again and try it again with him next year. I don't know that what's make or break. Stefanski's two-time coach of the year. He's not going anywhere. Andrew Berry just got extended.
Well, careful. It's the Browns.
Well, also the make or break could be, as Maggie said, if he doesn't do well, you draft a quarterback.
Yeah,
this year.
maybe, but it's still even that guy. It's not going to be a great quarterback draft next year. They're probably not going to be top 10. Their defense alone is going to.
It's a tough division, though.
I'd be shocked if they were a bottom feeder that could get into the quarterback mix.
What also, as we know, not to step on your headlines here, Dexter, but big announcement yesterday about in-season Hard Knocks is going to feature the entire AFC North. So how much Deshaun Watson do you think we're getting in this?
Is he healthy by the time they get? Who
are they starting with?
Yeah, usually they start week 8, I think. Usually we start to actually see the teams. Like, is he even playing by that time?
Well, Barry said he's ahead of schedule yesterday, right?
He did say that.
That's a relief.
But honestly,
because now matters.
They definitely have
great.
I would say
ahead of schedule in June.
Top 7 roster in the NFL, top 10 roster in the NFL.
Oh, their defense is dynamite.
But their offense is loaded too. Loaded.
Would you bet on them to make the playoffs?
That's right where I am with them. I feel like that entire division seems like they're destined for 10 wins, and I don't know. I wouldn't bet on them, but they are. I would definitely bet against them being high enough to get a quarterback. You guys think that there's any way they're the Panthers?
No, I don't see that either.
I'm trying to figure out if they overachieved or underachieved last season, because I think when Deshaun got hurt, there was this thought that there's no way they can figure this out, and they figured it out and made the playoffs.
Well, Chubb got hurt too,
got hurt too, but. At the same time, was that kind of fool's gold? That was a team because they were playing with a level of, like, they beat the Niners. Like, they were playing so hard. Like, are you able to kind of muster up that same chip on your shoulder without all those injuries? And are they really as good as you're saying? Are they really a top 7 roster? Or was this a team that was kind of meandering until they got to that late hot point down the stretch?
Yeah, I think they also, listen, the fact that the Steelers made the playoffs was like a minor miracle. And I think, when Joe Burrow isn't healthy, you take advantage, right?
Exactly.
And so if Burrow's healthy, if Lamar's healthy, like, though it's a great division with all great defenses, but those two teams are head and shoulders above, right?
And the Steelers,
if Deshaun doesn't play well,
they're not. Well, that's an if, but no, they're not. I don't think the Bengals are head and shoulders above the Browns and the Ravens. No, I think talent-wise, they're all in the same pool. The other thing, Deshaun, Bad Deshaun is still like he's very conservative quarterback. Like he's not the kind of quarterback who's going to throw 5 interceptions in a game. I think he can run for first downs. Like that's what he did last year.
No, but Bad Deshaun is not on the field. Yes, Deshaun on the field, fine, but we don't get him on the field not nearly enough.
Fair.
Honestly, you could say the same thing about Burrow.
Fair point. All right, some baseball news. Major League Baseball, they released their first voting update when it comes to fan voting for the 2024 All-Star Game. Aaron Judge leads all players with 1.3 million votes, over 1.3 million votes, while Bryce Harper leads all National League players with over 1.1 million votes. Moving to some hockey news. The Stanley Cup Final continues tonight back in Florida. And the Edmonton Oilers fan who flashed her breast during a Stanley Cup playoff game this postseason is taken to Instagram to get some things off her chest. The fan, known as Kate, went on IG and took some time out to address the haters, saying, and this is going to be cleaned up a little bit, at the end of the day, I got drunk and whipped my stuff out at an Oilers game, and they went viral. Screw you if you don't like it. So some people like what Kate did.
She referred to them as they.
Is
that proper?
She did.
They went viral. Okay.
Yes, she said they. She said they went viral.
I get that. They got a life of their own.
They're a thing now.
There's a power that they have that is just separate from the rest of your
Do
Calling all boobs.
Yeah. Do they have their own agent? Like
they soon do.
They may soon. They may soon. A lot of questions.
We had the
about
sound, by the way, if you wanted to hear this.
Oh yeah, let's hear Kate.
Great woman.
You could be the most perfect, godly person in the world. You could save kittens from a river if they were drowning. Someone's still gonna hate you. So you know what? At the end of the day, I got drunk and whipped my out at an Oilers game and they went viral. You if you don't like it. Woo! Go Oilers!
Ooh, that was the best part right there.
Yeah.
No wonder why the Oilers didn't get behind her.
Girl power.
What do you mean they didn't get behind her? The whole city of Edmonton, that's like, I think she's running for mayor next year. What are you talking about? This is Canada.
Calling all boobs.
That was the most Canadian speech probably of all time. Like, that should be Trudeau's next commencement, whatever. I mean, that was like, she's a big-time hero.
Well, some people like what she did. Some people don't like what she did.
Yeah, what kind of backlash was she facing? It sounded like she was facing a lot of backlash.
Some people were hating on it.
Check it out she's right on social media. Like Perloff and I talked about this. It was a comedian who said, he always finds it fascinating now that you would see like porn that has like a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and people like thumbs down it, and he's like, you don't understand. Like back in my day, we had to like pretend clouds were boobs and stuff like that. So it's like you don't know how good you have it that you would like thumbs down, like that. Yeah, listen, I'm sure there's a lot of conservative people out there who thought that this was inappropriate. None of those exist on this show, as far as I'm concerned. We're all about if you got it, flaunt it.
Is that the craziest thing you've ever seen a fan do at a sporting event?
Oh my God! Well,
he's from Philly.
Streakers. Is that crazier than? I mean, as she explained, she just got caught up in the moment. Is that crazier than a streaker?
No, I don't. It's a level of dedication to go on the field. Right?
I guess like I've never seen anything like that. If you're talking about what I've witnessed personally, yes. No. But I mean, people have been getting hot and heavy in the stands and stuff like that. Is like totally inappropriate.
At baseball games, they just be getting wild.
Blech, yuck. But
we've seen a lot.
If you don't like it.
Woo, what's the craziest thing I've ever seen personally at a game? I have to think about that.
I've seen some mad brawls.
I've seen Santa Claus get arrested.
I've seen fights.
When I was a kid, I used to go to a lot of Mets-Phillies game, and everybody was drunk, and there were a lot of Mets fans drove down, and it was basically a 3-hour brawl.
Oh wait, actually,
I'm sure there were fights at the Eagles parade.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure there's gonna be fights at the Celtics parade.
Definitely.
This actually
it was a fight at the Celtics game the other day.
It was a watch party.
Yeah. Oh, it's a watch party. Okay.
Yeah. That was from Game 4 when they got smoked. Celtics won. Dexter, thank you. We've got to leave it there. And actually, a nice segue. Fighting in the stands, a little tangentially related to our old school, new school for today. Tangentially. That comes your way at the top of the hour. Not before that, though. We do have some to get to, including some sound we didn't get to from yesterday, which is wild. Never heard a coach's wife talk like this. We'll tell you what we mean next. Maggie Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Okay. This is Andrew Perloff with a Sports Minute. Wait, let me do that again. This is Andrew Perloff with a Sports Minute. This is Andrew Perloff with an Odyssey Sports Minute. Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown are the faces of the Celtics, but this year's title run was a team effort. Credit the front office for building the perfect supporting cast. NBA is all about matchups. Good teams hunt their opponents' weak spots. Boston just doesn't have any. In a superstar league, the Celtics do it differently, and that's why they won the franchise's 18th title. I'm Andrew Perloff.
.45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Okay, before we get back to the Celtics and dissecting their win 100 different ways, they won the title last night, so congratulations to them and kind of, doing the post-mortem on the Mavericks and all of that. Something just to clean up from the weekend, which we never got a chance to get to, which was Dan Hurley, who did this big media tour after he turned down the Laker job, Perloff, and decided to go back to UConn. He wasn't the only one who did this big media blitz, telling everyone who would listen why he decided to go back to UConn. His wife, ANDREA, also was out there doing interviews. And this was, what a devastating decision this was for the Hurley family. Pete, can we play cut 3, please? This is Andrea Hurley on local TV in Connecticut saying the Lakers' decision was the worst and best week of their life.
It was emotional. Like, I will tell you, because I'm going to cry. I'm not going to cry. It was a lot. It was like, I said it probably was the worst week of my life, but like looking back, and it's probably going to be like it really was the best week. But
the worst week of your life. How do you even get there? Like, I get it being a tough decision, Perloff. The worst week of your life is not when somebody offers your husband $70 million to coach LeBron James. It's like when you get fired from a job. That's the worst week of your life. Or when you have to pick up the pieces. That was a very odd thing to hear from Andrea Hurley, no?
Well, that's a positive spin on it. $70 million. You could say they made a less than spectacular offer to coach D'Angelo Russell. That's the way you can look at it.
Yeah, I guess that.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but I love living where I live. To be pulled up from that and to what's the expression, to uproot your family. That's very challenging. I understand where she's coming from.
It's not the worst week of your life, though. That's a little much. Here's more from Andrea Hurley. Can we hear cut 2? She just can't imagine moving from Storrs, Connecticut to Los Angeles.
And it sets in, and then the next phase is, oh my God, it's in California. My whole life is here.
Okay. Yeah, that happens. Let's also hear cut 4. She was hysterical at the thought of leaving UConn.
First reaction is I was hysterical. Like, I was before I even could even realize what was happening, I'm like, right away you think, like, the life that I have right now that I love is going to be gone. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I cry over everything. So I'm like I can't even, I went to Home Depot and took 2 pictures of people. Like, people love us here. And
get a life.
Oh my God.
Oh, come on. What do you guys get? This is so
the first
sweet.
thing I do when I'm upset is I go to Home Depot, take some pictures of folks.
Get a life.
No,
please.
you guys are so cruel. What is wrong? This is amazing. Like, she's like, I love it here. I'm part of the community, and that's the most important thing to me. You guys wanted to uproot and go to the most plastic city on earth in Los Angeles, California, where you can go to Home Depot and take some photos?
Sunshine and rain, sunshine and beaches. Such a terrible life.
It's such a disaster if someone asks you to coach the Lakers like they are asking you to coach the prison basketball team at San Quentin. Here's the thing. Dan Hurley, before this, was out on different interviews telling people eventually he wants to coach in the NBA. So you couldn't have been this blindsided by it. I mean, it's a little crazy to be acting like this is about you. Like, yeah, okay, let's hear your perspective on it, but let's not pretend like there are people, you sound just a little tone deaf. Like, there are real things that turn people's lives upside down, not an offer. You didn't even take it, so what does it matter? You're staying. Like, I was just very surprised that she was this out there about being this emotional.
How can you say it's not about her? It's totally about her. I mean, they have kids.
Their kids are out of the house.
Oh.
Her kid just graduated. Both of them are graduated from college.
Keep forgetting that. I mean,
they're about to be empty nesters. This is the perfect time to make a move like this.
There are folks where it's like, when you're a Northeaster, though, like, the Northeast is your life. And Andrea kind of feels like that kind of person.
She at one point said in the interview, the Lakers? Where is that even? LA? What's that? It's like, what? You've been married to a coach since 1997. And he wants to go to the NBA at some point. I'm just like, why do this? She's got a podcast. Do it on your podcast.
Oh, you guys are brutal. Honestly, I'm glad that I'm not married to you guys, because you would... the fact that she loves her community there is a positive, not a negative.
Okay, this person is also somebody who buys expensive handbags after her husband wins big games and names them all after the coaches that he just beat.
Awesome.
Oh, man. There's a lot there.
You're in a 5-minute break.
of expectations ends tonight here. It's over. Time to say it again, Boston. Anything's possible. Banner number 18 has been secured. The Celtics are NBA champions.
Love it. Mike Breen, ESPN on ABC. The send up there to Kevin Garnett from 2008, and the Celtics are champions again. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. And believe it or not, this Celtics team, Perloff, has all the measurements and makings of an all-time great team. I know that might not square with a lot of people because their road was a little easy or what have you, quote unquote. But this is a great team, and you, even if you're not a Boston fan or if you hate Boston or all that stuff, you do have to respect, I think, Tatum and Brown, the front office, the commitment here to make it work with these two guys in a time when both pairing up and tearing down sort of duos and trios has become the norm.
Disagree. How can you say any team after one title is an all-time great team? That's just not the way it is. I would have said last year's Denver Nuggets were a great time, all-time team. I'm sorry, Jayson Tatum, you said this before Game 5. You're going to have to do it again. If you're talking all-time great team, there's no one singular title team that can qualify as that. And they're not so overwhelmingly talented. It's not like they have a dream team or they have 5 number 1 picks. I mean, they do have Tatum and Brown, but they have a lot of journeymen who are really playing well. Journeymen in the sense that guys who've been on multiple teams, a lot of veterans, a lot of older guys. So all-time great team seems really rich to me.
Well, this came from Zach Lowe. The Celtics now just the 7th team since the NBA-ABA merger to claim the title after winning at least 55 games in the regular season and outscoring their opponents by 10-plus points per game. The 6 other teams are 3 Michael Jordan Bulls teams, the first Steph Curry Golden State team, and the Kevin Durant Warriors team, and then also those 07-08 Celtics. So when we do think back about great teams, maybe not going back to the Showtime Lakers and stuff like that, but we're talking about, some all-time great teams. Who do you think about? The Bulls. You think about the Warriors, and then you add in the Celtics. Like they're right in that area. And again, the eye test may have told you, all right, they got to play some teams that didn't have their stars, and there were a lot of blowouts and maybe not close games in this finals. But that doesn't take away from the Celtics top to bottom. I think it's impressive not only what they did, like statistically this season in this playoffs, only losing 3 games. And then I think it's impressive what they've done sort of mentally, which was, get over the hump, which is the cliche, but also not make those devastating mistakes that they made the last time they were in the finals when they played the Golden State Warriors.
Okay, did Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown blow you away in this finals? Like blow you away, just like, wow, they were just simply amazing.
I thought Jaylen Brown really blew me away. He was the finals MVP. For Tatum, it's just a little bit different. He was great last night, but Tatum, the bar for him is like ridiculously high. But I think it's actually more he and Brown are kind of 1 and 1A. I don't know if we should have anointed Tatum was no doubt the number 1 guy. Now, he has more first-team All-NBAs than Jaylen Brown does, but I don't know. I think they're closer to each other.
So Jaylen Brown won the MVP, 20.8 points per game in this finals, 5 games, 44% field goal percentage, which was pretty good, but 23% from 3. He wasn't peak Jaylen Brown even. I mean, they played really well. I think to me...
On the defensive end, though, he was also really good. It's 2 ways.
But I define this team as not... I don't even view this team as a Brown-Tatum duo. Like, everybody contributed. First of all, and let's talk about coaching for a second. Somehow they figured out the pick and roll move that's tortured the Timberwolves for the entire series. I mean, took this great defensive Timberwolves team just out of it. Somehow Boston was ready for everything. To me, it was coaching. It was the depth of this team and the fact that all 5 guys, there was no weak spots.
Yep.
All 5 guys could play defense. All 5 guys could hit threes. They, to me, were a whole team effort. It's not, and this might denigrate Brown and Tatum. I don't see Brown and Tatum as like this incredible historic duo that just carried them alone. They had a lot of help in this series.
Okay, but I'll ask you, do they have a chance to be a historic duo? Because you might say right now they're not Jordan and Pippen. Nobody is. Right now they're not, Bird and McHale. But I would say they're 26 and 27. they've been hanging around and being successful, going to 6 of the last 8 Eastern Conference finals, going to a finals before they eventually won last night. Like, this has been a growing, evolving team with those two guys at the center of it. You know, who's to say what's going to come in the next, 6-7 years with these guys?
Well, and recent NBA history says not much, because who's to say 2 years ago that Giannis wasn't going to go on to 4 title run?
Well, Steph and Clay went on quite a run.
Yeah, I know. It's just hard these days. I don't know exactly why. I mean, there can't be an accident that we keep on getting new NBA champions. And yes, right now, today, Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown seem like this is the beginning of a huge, huge run. But weird things happen. They do have some immediate problems. Kristaps Porzingis is getting surgery. Al Horford can't stick around that much longer. And Drew Holiday's getting old. And Derek Brown's hitting 30 this summer. I wonder.
I really see this team differently than you. You feel like they're a team that's about to win and like fall off this cliff. Like they were lucky. This is like Dirk Nowitzki, like he was lucky to get one, before he retired.
We've had 6 straight one-off titles.
But Pearl, are they
different than those other teams?
I think they are. And the reason is because I've watched Jaylen Brown, and Jayson Tatum. I feel like I'm watching them evolve. Like you talk about guys like Jordan and you talk about LeBron and some all-time great players who got so close and had all the scar tissue, and they don't have to leave to go anywhere like LeBron did. But like you mentioned, Porzingis is getting surgery. Porzingis missed 12 of the 19 games they played in the playoffs. Like, he missed games in this series and they won. I think Porzingis was a big part of this, but let's not pretend like he was the main cog.
Wow.
That's not true.
Do they win those first 2 games without Porzingis?
Probably. I don't think the Mavs were winning the series. Boston was heavy favorites. Like, I think that, and listen, Drew Holiday, yes, that's going to be hard to make up that
well,
defense.
He's still got a little run left in him, but yeah.
He's not, listen, Al Horford in year 17 was just starting in every single game of this finals and playing meaningful minutes. Like, I don't know I don't think Horford is going to be long for this, but I mean, why not?
Well, okay. You just described they evolved and they learned from all their losses, and then they became the next level. Who could you also be talking about? You might be talking about Luka Doncic. I mean, this is
but what moves are they going to make?
Well, regardless, I think Jayson Tatum grew up from 25 to 27.
Yep.
Like, Luka could be the best player in the league. And I also think you're describing Joker 2 years ago, and you're describing Giannis 2 years before. There are other teams are going to evolve as well. It's not like Boston Celtics has evolved and no one's coming up behind them. I think a real fair question is who wins more titles, Jayson Tatum or Luka Doncic? I would honestly say right now it feels like Tatum is the easy answer. I think Doncic.
I know, but this is a funny thing to me about the Mavs. So the Mavs lose, Celtics win, and you're asking how can the Mavs get better? It's like, well, they're really strapped. Like they can get rid of Tim Hardaway Jr.'s contract, but they don't have draft picks. And they don't have a lot of flexibility. It's like, how? You've got 2 great players, and how are you this strapped? So, depending, you have to do a little gymnastics for the Mavericks. And I trust the Boston Celtics front office. I think they've pushed. Listen, has it been every single button perfect? No, but they weathered a big storm with Ime Udoka having to leave the franchise right after the finals, which definitely was weird. And they took advantage of what looks like the Bucks' mistake in getting rid of Drew Holiday.
But so how do we know the Mavs don't get some luck roster-wise like that? Luka's 25. He's got an 8 to 10-year window here to do this.
Sure. No, they could. I mean, you always think Joel Embiid is going to be on his way to Dallas. I know that's a secret fear of yours. I mean, it's Draymond Green, LeBron. Like, everyone's talked about Dallas as a possible destination. I'm not counting them out.
Yeah, Cuban. Well, I don't even care about those guys. Honestly, I think where we you and me and probably EJ too, I think Luka's a championship player, like for sure.
He's got to now go through the thing that guys go through. You
right,
mentioned Giannis
but they all
and
go
Jokic.
through it, right?
Like he's got to go through all of this. And today, the Celtics are the team that proved that they can. They proved that the scar tissue doesn't build to break apart. It builds and creates something stronger. And right now, Luka has not proved that yet.
But every great NBA star, except for very few exceptions, has to gain that scar tissue. Jayson Tatum will tell you. You have to learn that. And I hope Luka learned something in this series. I mean, he's still incredibly productive. He's terrible on defense, no doubt.
Yeah. But do you think he actually learns a lesson here and comes back with either less complaining to the referees, an attention to defense, which like the Mavs did after their trade and after the trade deadline? They became a good defensive team. but Luka was not holding up his end of the bargain.
Well, that being said, he reminds me so much of Larry Bird because some of his steals last night were sick. Like he can see he is LeBron-like court vision.
Yeah.
He sees the court in a different way than anyone else. He was the best player, and he led every single category except for blocks for the entire playoffs. Led in points, rebounds, assists. Like he's an
where did it get him?
He got to
4-1.
5 games in the NBA final with a far worse supporting cast than everybody else.
Okay, but
far worse.
not close to the Celtics. They were not close in the series.
Still, I mean, I think Luka's playoff run cannot be dismissed. It was very impressive. I mean, his numbers blow away Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Of course, he's a primary scorer. Even last night, there were points. I know he didn't have a great game, but there were points where, like, he did very impressive things to me. He would get to the hole, and he's just such a great finisher around the basket. He's so strong, and it wasn't even a good series for him. He still basically put up 30 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists a game.
You know, EJ, maybe this is a good poll question or something like this. Did you leave the finals more impressed with Luka or less? Because I think a lot of people...
He lost, and that's not a fair question because he's coming off a series where he simply dominated one. He just lost the finals in 5 games.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like you want to give him like but he was great, and I don't think he was. I think he's going to get a lot of criticism here because of Game 3, which we'll never know.
Because he fouled out.
Because he fouled out, but also he was complaining a lot.
He was bad, though, in that game, too, even before the foul out.
Took himself out of the game by arguing with the officials, just not the approach and demeanor when essentially that's the series. That Game 3 was the series.
Oh, okay. I've been arguing against, but he's probably getting knee surgery this week. I mean,
and who's the person
you kept
who
saying he
basically
wasn't hurt.
said he wasn't hurt?
But I'm telling you, even it doesn't affect his game one way or the other. He's still the guys. How are you guys dismissing all this production? I mean, he had a very high plus minus for most of the series.
Because
when he's off the court, the Mavs were not good this year.
Well, because I think numbers can lie, right? And I think especially in basketball. And I think that when I watch Game 3 and I watched last night's game, those numbers completely empty. That game got out of hand the first half because he could not dominate the game.
Yeah, he missed it, but to be fair to him, he was just off. He was just missing a shot. He wasn't
off, whatever.
But didn't make up for it on the defensive end.
I mean, yeah.
I don't have a good scoring game going right now, so what else am I going to do to impact the game? Like, to be honest, that's something that Jayson Tatum will do. You know, if he's has his off-scoring night, Jayson Tatum at least is committed on the defensive end. Luka's not.
I think I watched the Celtics either run through or run around Luka Doncic for at least 3 or 4 offensive rebounds in the third quarter. And that's where also the game completely got out of hand. Yeah. And we talk about Luka's defense. But it was really good in the conference finals. But the problem is, we play in the finals, you're playing against literally the best of the best. And you're playing against a team where you don't have any ducks. You can't hide him anywhere.
No, he wasn't playing any defense against he was hiding in him and Kyrie were on the weak side just doing nothing the entire time.
But he had a bunch of steals. I'm saying
we had a bunch of steals last night.
Right, but he was disruptive and he wasn't a siege. What I'm trying
to
say,
he didn't have to cover anybody. That's what was different.
But my point, though, is that in the Dallas series, he can be an impact plus defensively. He was because of what you're saying. You're right. He's playing weak side defense. The problem is when you play against NBA Finals level basketball, elite competition, you cannot hide anybody defensively. They know what you want to do. They know all your weaknesses. They know where you struggle. And the Celtics hunted him endlessly last night. Yeah. It was switches after switches after switches, and he was getting blown by clean. Yeah. He was terrible.
Also, too, the Celtics did not play team defense. They face guarded him the entire game.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, these other guys. But, I mean, there was a big factor. The other guys around him were awesome against Minnesota. P.J. Washington, Lively, Gafford.
Yeah.
Those guys stunk in this series.
Credit to the Celtics.
Yeah,
because they play great defense.
Right.
No, I'm saying, and I do disagree a little bit. But like sometimes the harder matchup is the Western Conference or the Eastern Conference Finals. It's not always the best matchup is the finals.
But did you really think when we were watching the Western Conference Finals, you're like, well, that's the real finals?
Exactly.
Not even close.
If the Nuggets had been there, it would have been different. But something happened in this final.
We don't get that.
My thing is, to win a championship, you're going to have to beat somebody great, almost always, whether it's in the conference finals or the championship. And when you have to face the elite of the elite, you can't have a lot of weaknesses. Like Jokic, we saw how terrible he was defensively against Phoenix the year before. And guess what? He improved his defense.
Yes, so Luka's 25. Guess what? Luka's going to improve.
Right, but you're saying today he played well. I'm saying no, he did not.
Well, also,
that's my point.
That's also what we're asking, right? Is he going to? Because this is like that. This is part of it. Like Tatum and Brown, they did have to change. I mean, Jaylen Brown will tell you, like, he had to get way better on defense. You have to get better with your ball handling. You have to be more poised in the moment. You've got to do all these things to learn from it. I think the question is, are we sure Luka is going to do that? Are we sure he's going to come back next year, and is he going to take on that defensive burden? Is he going to be able to stop himself from getting out of his game because he's jarring at the refs? Like, is he
Because the other thing too on him, we talk about his defense. I don't think it was lack of effort. I think he's exhausted. He's not in great physical shape, and he plays a brand of offensive basketball that Perloff always talks about that he doesn't like. And I think it's fair to talk about it today, where he's demanding a lot of his body offensively.
Right.
He's dribbling the ball a lot. He's handling the point guard duties. He's scoring all the points. He's grabbing a lot of rebounds. You can't play the kind of defense that he needs to play in order to not be a complete hole defensively and do that in the physical shape he's in. He came in this offseason in great shape coming into the season. And then you look at him last night. Look at a picture from game 1 of the season and look how he looked last night. He looks like a totally different person.
But let me ask you a question. Did he take a major step forward this year in his fitness? So what's to stop him from taking? You guys are caught up in the moment in the sense that, like, yeah, he's going to change just like Joker changed. Like, he could change. He's 25.
Well, he's got to make the commitment, though. I mean, we saw him coming a certain way.
He did make a huge commitment this offseason. Like, if he takes another commitment, like JJ Reddick said it at the end of the game, he's like, Luka is a guy who tries to add something every offseason, that maybe he'll do it again. I think you're discounting the fact that he could grow.
Oh, no, we're not. I think we're just asking the question, right? And it's funny. I was just listening to Draymond Green was on Jimmy Kimmel. Did you happen to see this? And he was talking about how the worst feeling in the world is obviously losing a finals. He said he'd rather not even make the playoffs than lose the finals. And Jimmy said, well, why is that? And he goes, but because if I don't make the playoffs, I've got 17 weeks off. If I go all the way to the finals, I have like 8 weeks off. And I didn't win, and I'm exhausted, and I don't have enough time to make up and try to learn and do the things I need to do to get ready for the next season, and I don't even have the title to show for it. And I was thinking about that, you know, as I'm watching the Mavericks and I'm watching Luka. I'm like, is he even going to play in the Olympics? And are you going to have enough time to regroup here?
I think you guys are discounting a little bit the fact that he scored 30 points a game on basically 50% shooting against the 2 best defensive teams in the league. I mean, the Celtics are really good, and there were times where he made them look bad.
Right, but here's the question: was that the winning basketball that they needed?
Well,
because getting yours is fine, and that's for a score. But was that the winning basketball? Because they got smoked.
He actually. To be honest, he's an incredible passer. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But he was doing the best he could. Like, this was not a Luka. If you look at that team and say, wow, the Mavs lost in 5 because of Luka, I can't even, I don't know what to tell you.
But how do you look at game 3 and then game 5 and say that they didn't lose those games because he didn't show up? First half, he was horrendous.
Well, I'm just saying, do you say he lost because of Luka? Like, who else was
We said
there?
they lost in 5 games. I'm saying, no, if he has the right attitude in game 3, they win. You have to win that game. You're the star player. You're coming back home. You're the best player in the NBA. Like, you can't lose that game. You can't foul out. And then game 5, it's a must-win game again, and you can't make a 3 in the first half.
But I think history will look at it and say, well, Kyrie had a bad series, and the supporting cast had a bad series, and Luka did what he could, but it wasn't enough. I think that's how history will reveal it. To put this on Luka, when who else did anything?
No, they all stunk. I just think Luka deserves to wear this as much as all of his games. He's a superstar player.
I think it's hard to dominate against the Celtics, and I think Luka tried his best, but he couldn't hit his 3. And that's not like an effort thing. He was just off.
First half for Luka last night, 4 for 10, 0 for 3 from 3. Weirdly, also 1 for 4 from the free throw line, which is always this weird thing about the Mavs that they never were able to hit free throws.
Free throw shooting team. I don't know what that's
How?
about.
You have Kyrie Irving on your team. Like, he's an incredible free throw shooter. Anyway, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, but 3 turnovers, 9 points in the first half.
The Mavericks didn't score a basket until like 6 minutes in. Like, they just started off, they were A, exhausted, and B, they just didn't have the guns to do this.
Okay, see you guys on the phones, 855-212-4227. You want to weigh in on the Celtics and the Mavs? NBA Finals last night. It's Tuesday, which means we have old school, new school for you. This one's going to be a fun one that everyone will have an opinion on. Promise. Definitely you listening. 855-212-4227. It's Maggie Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie Perloff Show. So Luka Doncic becomes the first player in NBA history to lead the entire playoff field in points, rebounds, assists, and steals, but didn't do enough for Maggie Gray. I guess Daniel Gafford leading the league in blocks was the difference.
Well, they only got one win, and I don't know, as EJ said, I don't know if the numbers tell the whole story here with Luka.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was a little tired from carrying Derrick Jones Jr. to the finals. I mean, come on.
Well, you want to know what? It was actually Josh Green who kind of carried all their behinds and even kept them a little bit in the game because he was able to hit some threes, which Luka could not do last night.
Yeah, I mean, Luka and Kyrie, to their credit, they just miss outside shots. Kyrie had a lot of in and outs. I mean, if they were on from three, if this game had no three-pointer like the 80s, like early 80s Celtics, Luka would have even been more dominant.
Lots of ifs there. Okay, we're talking about the Celtics. They win last night, beat the Mavs, 855-212-4227. We'll get to old school, new school in just a moment, but first, here is Don in Ohio. What's up, Don?
What is that? I just want to say, all these people that came out, that was a week before the series started, predicting Dallas in 5 and 4. Where are they at now? This series was over.
Well, Perloff's sitting right here.
I'm sitting right to the left of
Good
Maggie.
morning.
I said 6, but I apologize.
I hate the Celtics. I'm a diehard Laker fan. Always has been. They just passed this up. First time in my life I ever rooted for Boston.
Really? Because you don't like who? Kyrie?
I hate the Celtics. Bird sucked. Magic owned his ass every time they played him.
Oh, okay. Okay. So
it's all about Showtime Lakers.
Who do you want as the next Laker coach? You want do you want JJ Reddick?
Hell no, he sucks.
He hasn't even done anything
yet. The guy I'd go after, he'll never take the job because he just retired from Villanova 2 years ago. With Jay Wright.
You know, Don, his name got floated out there.
Some respect for LeBron, and LeBron's going to respect them. LeBron's not going to respect Reddick.
You know what? Well, it might be LeBron's pick. Don, thanks. Good luck to your Lakers. Interesting.
That's actually a good point. Will LeBron respect Reddick, or will the teammates of LeBron think that anything Reddick says is LeBron through a mouthpiece? That's the issue, right?
Yeah, but when you play with LeBron on your team, don't you kind of know that there's a pecking order in professional sports? Everyone knows that, right? Whether it's football or basketball, you kind of know not everyone's treated the same.
Well, right. But they think if JJ Reddick says this, then that's really LeBron saying it. Like if Danny Hurley was a coach, then I think people would believe he could treat LeBron differently, but he wouldn't be a mouthpiece for LeBron. That's the issue. JJ is so specifically tied to LeBron. Yeah. It's a little problematic. I mean, I don't think it's ideal.
No, they're just like really simpatico in terms of how they see the game, Pearl.
I think
Listen to the pod.
I think if Borrego or one of those guys with like you could do some coaching, it's definitely not going to be great.
Quickly, Rich is in California. Hey, Rich.
Hi. I don't know what this game proved. I mean, good teams beat the teams they're supposed to beat, and that's no knock on the Mavericks. The Mavericks benefited by a really good place in the tournament, and they got as far as they possibly could go. The idea of a underdog beating a really good team or a good team doesn't happen all that often. That's why we remember when Joe Namath beat the Colts. Otherwise,
right. So your point, Rich, you think everything just sort of fell how it was supposed to fall. Mavericks were a 5 seed. Boston was the best team in the NBA this year. Thank you for the call, Rich. And this is just sort of, just how it played out.
Yep. Totally.
On paper, the way it was supposed to.
Yeah, I mean, and we're talking about, can this be a dynasty? So much could happen this offseason. Like, Boston might have much bigger challenges next year. I don't know where Jimmy Butler ends up. I don't know where LeBron ends up. There's so many factors.
Paul George to your Sixers?
Maybe some more relevant players can be discussed here.
I don't know. Basically, Joel Embiid basically was on TV, like openly kind of courting him, but sure.
Yeah, I just think like what happens to Jimmy next year? He's certainly a guy who could end the Celtics dynasty in 1 year.
Let's hit it. It's Tuesday, which means old school, new school.
It's Maggie and Perloff's Old School, New School.
All right, Pearl. Today is old school versus new school. What was your preference? Was it the old school arenas of the past? No frills, sort of bare bones, not she, like today, the new school arenas, plushy chairs, lobster tails, Wi-Fi, out-of-town scoreboards, beautiful light shows when a closer comes in. What did you like? Did you like the old school sort of gritty, the true fans sitting in the stands, or do you like now a little bit more corporate, a little bit more, comfortable of a sports watching experience?
Oh, my God. I'm from Philly. So if I said old school, the Veterans Stadium was the worst stadium on earth. I mean, it was not run by the concession people, the cops. It was run by stray cats. Like, you had to, get on their good side or you're going to have a bad experience at a Phillies game. Like, they would come after you. No, it was disgusting in every possible way. Those ashtray stadiums of the 70s were the worst. Seats were bad. Views were bad. Everything about modern arenas is better. I'm sorry. I do love Wrigley and I love Fenway, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking, when I hear this debate, I'm hearing the Vet or that old Three River Stadium or Busch Stadium. Those were terrible, and I don't know why anyone would prefer those over the modern stadiums, which, ironically, most of them look retro.
Yeah.
So, to me, it's not even a debate. New school by far.
Man, the way you put it, ashtray stadiums, that was a really good way.
They look like ashtrays, yeah. The 70s stadiums, the multi-purpose.
Oof.
And also, their turf was basically concrete with a fake rug over it.
Yeah, not good for players' knees, but in terms of spectator, just give me the old school stuff. Listen, I know it's fun to talk about. You go to a stadium and you can get a hot dog on top of a pizza wrapped inside a waffle cone. Nobody needs that crap. You don't need sushi at a stadium. You don't need any of this stuff. I don't need to drink white wine when I'm watching a sporting event. It's never gotten better than a hot dog or a hamburger, maybe some chicken fingers and a beer. That's it, or water. That's it. That's all you need. The idea that now it's about everything but the game, that part of it, to me, it's we need a children's playground and we got to have an area for singles to mingle in the outfield so they can hook up with each other or whatever this is. It's all gotten so far away from the game. It's gotten so outrageously expensive too. You now in any new arena that's being built, including the one of my hometown, close enough, Buffalo Bills, you have to buy a license to buy your seat. I hate this stuff. The personal seat licenses, I'm so against it. Give me the old school arena. It was rough and tumble. It was grittier. But you know what? I didn't feel like I was getting fleeced every time I walked into the arena, unless I was literally getting my wallet stolen out of my back pocket, which may have happened a couple times.
I don't even understand. Well, can't you get all these froofy foods in old school stadiums? What you just talked about vendors. I mean,
it was a mentality, Pearl. It was a mentality.
Yeah, I see. I think you're hungry, and you started your first 5 points were food related, which I respect.
I once had to buy a helmet full of lobster nachos for everybody because they wanted it, and it cost me $50.
Wait, I have a question.
That's silly.
What is a singles area? I'm intrigued. Not that I want to go to this, but you could go to a ballpark and there's a singles area?
It's like bars and patios, and they're trying to get people in just for a date night or whatever.
That sounds amazing.
Well,
for a baseball game.
Nobody's watching. We're doing old school versus new school, new arenas versus the old school arenas. What do you prefer?
And I don't think we necessarily mean, I think Fenway is an exception here.
Fenway, Wrigley, the Coliseum,
because Fenway,
the cathedrals you're talking about.
Fenway is old school, but talking about vending options, the food there is I mean, the food there is like a 5-star restaurant. It's crazy. So I disagree a little bit on your. I understand what you're saying about the charm, but Ralph Wilson Stadium or whatever they call it now, changed name 50 times. That's a dump, Maggie, and you know it.
Well, they're building a new one. No, they made upgrades to it, but the Big House. I love the Big House. I've been lucky enough to go to the Big House. I know they've added more seats, but the Big House was really no frills, and I love that about it. Go to Notre Dame, no frills. It's awesome.
Oh, really? Did you ever go to the Hurricane Stadium, the Orange Bowl?
Not.
Disaster.
That's actually I have been.
You ever been to the Coliseum for USC game? Disaster. Terrible.
Not disaster. I like this. Charming.
Worst stadium.
There's no charm in these stadiums anymore. It's you could be anywhere in the world. You can't even tell what city you're in. At least give me a little flair. Give me a little something.
There's no flair at the Coliseum. It's just it's like a gigantic high school stadium.
No, because you want to know where the flair comes from? It comes from the marching band. It comes from the players. It comes from the actual fanfare. It comes from the fans themselves. It doesn't have to be manufactured by, because somebody wants to do something cool on the Jumbotron.
So I give you, there's 2 tickets. Same caliber of game. One's at SoFi Stadium and one's at the Coliseum. Which one are you going to?
Go to the Coliseum. Coliseum.
You're
Forget
out
SoFi.
You're out of your mind.
So I can go SoFi. Why?
It's awesome. I haven't actually been there, but it just looks amazing. I mean, I've flown over it 100 times.
No thanks.
Wow, you going to the Coliseum over SoFi Stadium?
Dude, I've been there. I don't need a cushy seat so that I can watch Sean McVay and have to take out a second mortgage for it.
I do.
Oh, actually,
I can't believe this.
I need comfort, nostalgia.
You eat too?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, I don't go to a stadium to be uncomfortable. I go to a stadium to eat nice, to watch a game in peace and comfort.
Have you been to Petco Park? I mean, that was one of the coolest places. They got a park in center field. Like, you're right in the downtown San Diego. The beach is not far away. I mean, this is the golden age of arenas and stadiums
Hold
right
on,
now.
Pete, I'm sorry. Did you just say you go to a game for peace and quiet? What are you talking about?
Comfort.
Peace and comfort. It's a baseball game. It's a football game. There's nothing peaceful about it.
I went to Shea Stadium all those years and sat in discomfort for many years. And you know what? With these new stadiums coming out, I want to see a roller coaster in center field now. I want to experience it and have a good time, especially if I'm spending all that money. I'm not spending that money to watch the building crumble apart around me.
I'm just telling you, they're charging you more because of the roller coaster, which you're not even going to go on.
Yes,
they're
that
still
was the
going to
thing.
charge.
You're not going to go on it.
Look at those prices at the old stadiums and that are still around. They're gonna be up there with the new stadiums as well because they have to maintain the building.
You used to be able to go to Old Yankee Stadium, and some of the stuff were a little Northeast biased, but we've all been to the stadiums all over the country. We're lucky, but you go to Old Yankee Stadium. I remember scalping a ticket from a person outside of Old Yankee Stadium by myself so I could go watch a game when I was an intern sleeping on my brother's couch in his apartment, and I could just go to the Bronx and just get in. It was just easier, and I didn't have to be so comfortable because I'm not moving in for the game. I'm there to watch the game and go.
My experience going to the Yankee Stadium, it was getting lost because the concourse was unbelievable. My mom had to call the cops to find me and my younger brother who was like 3. And it was walking up those upper deck bleachers and thinking I'm going to die because they're basically like walking up Mount Everest in terms of how steep they are.
The same happens. The stairs now are so steep
By the way,
in the new stadiums too.
Well, there's not a significant difference between the older Yankee Stadium and the new Yankee Stadium. They're not that different.
No.
You're wrong.
They're not that different. What's the big difference?
No.
Wasn't the new Yankee Stadium built to look like the old one, like the old one?
The concourse is so much wider.
It looks like
which
every
is something I like.
baseball
But who
park in America.
cares? I mean, it's the same. I mean, it's not exactly Wrigley or Fenway. I'm sorry, neither of the. It went from a generic '70s stadium to a generic 2010 stadium. It just happens to be the Yankees play there, so it's special.
This is our question today. Old school versus new school. Do you like old school stadiums or the new school stadium experience? Dexter Henry is here with headlines. You can go to Maggie and Pearl on X. You can vote there too. Dex, what's up?
Not much. Everybody vote for that. We got some news from the NBA world. According to reports, Jeff Van Gundy has agreed on a deal to become the lead assistant on Ty Lue's LA Clippers coaching staff. And Gundy had a role working with the president of basketball operations, Brad Stevens, in the Celtics front office this past season. Guys, do you like Van Gundy back in coaching as an addition to the Clippers staff?
I think he should be. If he had any role in this Boston Celtics coaching strategy against the Mavs, then I'm hiring that guy. I mean, I have no idea if he did. I don't know what that's based on. But when coming into the series, I actually said to Maggie, I'm like, whoa, they got a crazy bunch of good assistants here. Maybe they'll figure out the Mavs. The Mavs outcoached the T-Wolves so badly, it was embarrassing. And then I think the Celtics just turned around and did that to Dallas. So I don't know. I think this could be interesting. I think this could be the start of something.
I'm going to be honest. The first thing I thought of when I saw this is Jeff Van Gundy, Ty Lue's assistant. He will get hired in the next cycle. I mean, if he's really done with broadcasting and there's going to be a lot of new NBA partners coming who might want more color commentators, but he'll be back. I mean, 6 coaches get fired a year.
Why not Lakers? He's got a lot more experience than Reddick.
I thought about that. Why not the Lakers?
That's not a bad little consolation prize.
Well, but
now
he's
it's not happening.
Yeah, right. I was going to say, well, that'd be tough now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, listen, Cliff Kingsbury took the OC job at USC, then got hired the next day to be the head coach. You're right, though. It would be tough.
It would be tough. Maybe down the line.
Maybe down the
He can
road.
coach Bronny.
Yeah, in 2 years, there's a new Lakers coach. Maybe he'll get it then.
Yeah, we'll see. In baseball, Willie Mays, he will not be in attendance when the San Francisco Giants face the St. Louis Cardinals, at Rickwood Field on Thursday in a game honoring him and the Negro Leagues. The 93-year-old Mays told the San Francisco Chronicle that he will enjoy the game from home. Moving on to college football. Former LSU head coach Les Miles, he wants to get in the College Football Hall of Fame, and he is not about to let recruiting violations that led to vacated wins get in his way. So here's the thing. Miles is suing the school for vacating wins in response to an NCAA infractions case, a move that dropped Miles below the threshold for College Football Hall of Fame qualification. Now, back in 2023, in 2023, LSU vacated 37 wins because of recruiting violations stemming from impermissible benefits paid to the father of former player Vidal Alexander by a former booster. So, how's this problematic? Well, the 37 vacated wins dropped Miles' overall record from 145 and 73, a winning percentage of .665, to 108 and 73, a winning percentage of just below 60%, .597. Coaches must have a career winning percentage of 600 in at least 100 games to qualify for selection to the College Football Hall of Fame. Guys, does Les Miles have a leg to stand on here when it comes to suing his former employer?
I mean, I would more take this up with the College Football Hall of Fame. Like, what is this 60% like winning percentage? Like, where do they come up with this? Mike Leach is also being kept out because he's at like .594 or something, and he's one of the great innovators in the sport. He should absolutely be in the Hall of Fame. And from what I could read, other coaches who don't reach the threshold of the 60% winning percentage have gotten in for other reasons. So I think this whole thing is a little odd.
Yeah, it's odd that he is suing, and I don't see how he's going to
I
win.
mean, he's a joke, right? I'm
He's
sorry.
desperate
I mean,
guy.
I just re-looked up the reports of like he was reprimanded by the school in order not to speak to students. I mean, come on, he's a scumbag. He was. If those reports are even halfway true, he was the worst of worst in college football. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. To be real, even if he gave him those wins, is Les Miles a Hall of Fame coach?
Yeah, I mean, he had some great teams. There's no doubt about that. He probably could coach.
He took
but
a lot of lessons. He took Nick Saban's team to win a title. Nick Saban left for Miami Dolphins, and then he won a championship with Saban's players. He never won a championship with his own players.
The one thing, though, about if you're saying like he was kind of, sleazy, the stuff with the, what do they call it?
The women had to pass a looks test to work in the office.
It's ridiculous, and it's awful and ugly and terrible. Do you want to go back through the Hall of Fame to litigate that? Because, again, it's kind of like the steroid stuff. It's like,
true.
Are we really going to go back through? And we're going to point, like, Les Miles could probably look at other coaches and be like, and that guy was clean, and that guy was clean, and that guy was clean. Like, I'm not saying they're letting in Hugh Freeze and stuff like that at this point, but there's probably a lot of guys, if you went through their real records, might have some unsavory things.
I don't know. Lisa Urban Meyer was hitting on adults. I mean, not students.
I think that woman was
I think that's a huge transgression to have
it's gross.
inappropriate relationships with students when you're
Bobby
a head coach.
Petrino is not going to get in.
Yeah.
Right. Also,
I don't think.
Also, the 37 wins that are being vacated, he was overseeing these violations that happened. He was the head coach of this. It's under your watch. So
I wonder if there's anything with the NIL stuff. I don't know what the violations are, but is he somehow backdooring saying, hey, this stuff that was illegal back then is legal now. So why am I being held for this? Like kind of like a Reggie Bush situation a little bit.
Yeah.
I see. I could see that. Okay.
But again, what Les Miles has his record is excellent. I just feel like I watched him as a head coach. Like he kind of was beloved for some of that weird, like going for fourth down. He kind of was ahead of his time with that stuff.
Eating grass.
Yeah, but then he was doing weird stuff, and he had some down years, and they had a terrible national championship game when they lost. Like when he had his own players, he just felt like the kind of coach to me that clearly stepped into like the best situation, made the most of it, and then when he ran his course, he had to rebuild Kansas, and it was a disaster. Like people thought Kansas got a coup getting Les Miles, and they couldn't wait to get rid of him.
Yeah, me as well. Lance Leipold has made it, juggernaut.
Exactly.
Made it very
respectable program, and they were a clown show under Les Miles.
Yeah. Dexter, thank you. You've given us some things to think about here. Les Miles. Our old school, new school question of the day is old school or new school arenas. What did you like watching a game at more? The sort of old school, a little grittier, not as cushy, not as comfortable, but really just all about the game. Or do you like the new school arenas? You get white wine and fancy food and Wi-Fi and a cushy seat and, You're
not staring at a pole from 47 miles away from the field.
We never mentioned the sight lines.
And I love you using white wine and lobster as your downside, Maggie. I'm all about that if I can afford it.
Nah, just give me a hamburger and a beer. I'm good. 855-212-4227. You are welcome to weigh in. You want to watch the show? Come on in. YouTube.com/Infinity Sportsnet, Twitch.tv/Infinity Sports Network. We say good morning to our affiliates who we love. The free Odyssey app, you can download it, listen to us wherever you go, and Sirius XM channel 158.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Get back to the Celtics in just a moment. They win the NBA Finals last night, but we've gotten involved in our old school, new school debate, which is something we do around here on Tuesdays. Today's question is, what do you like better, old school arenas or new school arenas? Did you like the sort of grittier, no frills stadiums from like the 70s and 80s and even into the 90s? You know, not a huge difference between VIP and non-VIP. Or do you like the stadiums of today? You know, you can really buy like a luxury experience and you can get cushy seats. You can get fancy food. You can get Wi-Fi. You can play in a playground for your kids. You can be doing a singles meetup. Like, stadiums are much, much different these days. Bill is in California. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm torn between this because there's some old school stadiums that should be left alone. I mean, because I grew up in the day and listening to old timers when they used to go to the games, peek through the fence, see the game, you know, like Yankee Stadium, the Green Giant, you know, all those.
Green Monster, yeah.
You know, I think those, I mean, even Wrigley Field, you know, I mean, it's sad that they have commercialized and now you charge to get on the rooftops to watch the game stuff. I mean, even some of the college stadiums, and I'm not an LA guy. I hate Southern California, but the Rose Bowl, the LA Coliseum, those are they're just nostalgic. You got to keep them. Even Memorial Coliseum at Cal, they got a hill behind it called Cheapskate Hill. You can take your chair up and sit there and watch the game. It's beautiful, you know. But then you come to some of these new schools like AT&T, well now Oracle Park in San Francisco. You just can't beat it. You know, you just can't. That stupid stadium they have in LA where the Rams play, screw that. They're morons. You know, I wouldn't spend money to go to SoFi Stadium, you know. But then again, unfortunately, I'm going down to LA this weekend, which is not my favorite thing to do, but I got to take the grandkids to Universal Studios in San Diego Zoo.
Bill, yes, this sounds a little bit more like you're kind of out just on LA as opposed to the stadium.
You know, I mean, but I don't even like the new stadium they have in Dallas, that big old
Jerry World.
Jerry World that would encompass Disneyland, you know what I'm saying?
Bill, you're right. Actually, Perloff and I were just talking about that. Sorry to cut you off. Have fun with the grandkids at Universal Studios, though. Call us back and tell us how that went. We were talking about Jerry World. I don't like that massive video screen. I thought that was very distracting when I was there to watch a game.
Yeah, I think I have more ADD. I appreciate it. I don't know. It's cool. It's like the seventh wonder of the world. By Oracle Park in San Francisco. I think that's a new school, right?
Beautiful.
That thing is gorgeous.
Vince is in Grass Valley, California. Vince, old school stadiums or new school stadiums?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I grew up around the Oakland area, and I remember going to the Raiders games back in the 70s and 80s. And the way the team kind of assumed the personality of the area, if you look at the Raiders now in Vegas, it's just not even the same look. The vibe's not the same. Nothing is good. And the stadium was broken down and beat, but it was part of the experience. I mean, people knew when they were going to Oakland to a game, you know?
That can't be a good thing. Wait, Vince, Oakland, that's what you got? That's got to be the worst stadium experience in the country.
Great thing. No, I totally agree with Maggie here. The old vibe you're not replicating in Jerry World. If I want to go to an amusement park, I'll go. You know?
Well, the only thing about Oakland is we could do without the raw sewage that was running through the dugouts and but you know,
I met Jim Plunkett in the bathroom in a half-inch of raw sewage, so I'll take it.
Well,
Vince, thank you.
And hence, why do you think they're leaving Oakland? I mean, I'm looking at the list of stadiums. Some of these things, I haven't been to a lot. I heard the Pittsburgh. I've never been in the Pittsburgh one, PNC Park. That's new school, right? That's supposed to be amazing. Petco Park. We mentioned Oracle. This one in Seattle looks like a work of art. Then again.
But is it Fenway? Is it Wrigley?
Yeah, you better stick with Fenway and Wrigley and not do Shea.
Well, Shea.
Notre Dame, I don't know.
Shea, you couldn't even see the outfield.
Is Notre Dame that nice?
Yeah.
I haven't been.
It's old school. 855-212-4227. We get back to the Celtics. You can weigh in on old school, new school arenas and back to the Celtics. Did we just witness an all-time great team in Boston? I'll tell you.
The Green Giant.
You're in a 5-minute break.
The Green Giant.
Four
come
minutes,
playoff
30
time.
Jerry Goff.
3 minutes remaining.
You're listening to the radio.
Few people look at me, I'm fine. Just
2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
There's only one thing you can do when expectations are that high. Meet them. And there's only one way to stop being haunted by the ghosts and the legends and the champions atop this building. Join them. Together they have, and together they stand alone on top of the mountain for now. And once again, the Boston Celtics stand alone for all time. It is Banner 18. The mission demanded is mission accomplished.
Very eloquent there from Sean Grandy. Yes, the Celtics are the champs. 18 banners, Perloff. It is beyond impressive what they have done. Not just this run, which I know people want to poke some holes in their road to get to this finals, but I'm just impressed with the whole body of work, specifically with Tatum and Brown, maybe Brad Stevens in the front office. Just the commitment here to these two players, trusting that you have guys who will eventually get over the hump, making sure you're constantly tweaking the roster to make it the best it can possibly be. Isn't this what you hope for if you're a sports fan? Like, you drafted right, you committed to these guys, you're putting right people around them, you're weathering a couple storms that maybe you didn't see coming, like a coaching change 2 years ago, and all of that, and here they are at the top of the mountain.
Okay, I'm not going to diss the team the day they won a championship, but they got a little lucky. I mean, they got Tatum to follow them at 3 through a very complicated situation. They probably wanted to trade Jaylen Brown about 6 times. Drew Holiday fell in their lap. Kyrie left, which actually ended up helping everybody in the sense that they were able to grow as a team. Derek White was gifted to them. And then Kristaps Porzingis just happened to put together 3 healthy games out of nowhere. I hear what you're saying, but I can't really look at them as like, oh, this is how you build a champion, because it took a long time, right? It's not like, I don't know, you're describing it as a seamless process. And to me, it was a lot of fits and starts, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And I think, honestly, the resilience is what struck out to me. Not that they built the team the right way. It's just like, man, they suffered a lot of setbacks and hung in there.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely not easy, and it definitely wasn't overnight. The idea that, like, this person was gifted to them and that person was gifted to them, like, the league had essentially given up on Al Horford. They're the ones who saw that he was still valuable. Derek White was a first-round pick that they traded for, so it's not like they, like, that was a trade that they made because they saw something that the Spurs obviously didn't see in him.
Well, the Spurs were just getting rid of veterans.
And Drew Holiday, I mean, that's just, I think that's something that every other in the team in the NBA should have been all over. And the Celtics were the lucky ones who got him, and he was such a difference maker. Porzingis, his stock was as low, I mean, pretty low. Not as low as it possibly could have been, but the guys in Washington sort of never sure if he's going to be healthy, and he wasn't even healthy through this run. So I got to give them a lot of credit here. It's not like, oh, they just woke up one day and all this stuff fell into their lap. They really had to go make their own luck here.
I will ask you this, and I'm going to be the wet blanket guy.
Okay.
They've won 18 titles.
Yeah.
There's one to me that might be less impressive than this, but this is definitely on the lower end of their impressive titles. They beat the Dallas Mavericks, and they went through the East without any of the stars. I mean, the 80s, I know they beat the Rockets twice in the finals, but they had to beat really good teams to get there. And then in the 2000s, they had the tough Western Conference. So I don't know. I do think when you're really talking history here, I think they're always going to wear that they didn't have any competition. Because you do define a champion by who they beat. That's just the way it is.
See, I don't think so. I don't think that's how you define a champion. I think champions get defined a million different ways. It's
I think
not
you need a rival.
Specifically your competition. No way.
I think so. Oh, my God. I think the Magic Bird thing was huge. I think the fact that through the Bill Russell's years, he had the Lakers and the Sixers. Like, yes, I don't think you could just run through a weak field and be the same.
Well, listen, we did old school, new school about arenas, old school versus new school. But do you want to talk about old school title versus new school titles? Because it's an interesting place to take the conversation. I mean, I think you get into, yes, Bill Russell's an all-time great player, great human, all of the amazing things he did. But how many teams were in the league then?
Yeah, but they didn't have a salary cap.
They also,
meaning you could keep a great team, but other great teams were kept together too. They were beating Hall of Fame laden teams all over the place.
Yeah, but you also couldn't have any free agency. You couldn't move around. I mean, there was a lot of advantages that the team had that you could build something that was like a juggernaut, whereas today you can't even get anything close to that unless we're talking about the Warriors was like the last dynasty we saw.
They were kicking Wilt Chamberlain and Jerry West's butt all over the court.
I know, but how did they get there? We're talking about the road.
They beat the Sixers, who were had Hall of Famers everywhere too.
Okay, well,
and they beat a Hall of Fame laden Knicks team as well.
Listen, you really can't say that those old school titles were not easier to win than you could say those old school titles, were easier to win than today's.
I just think that
hell, you do best of 5. That's easier than today.
The reality is, and you know it, and you're trying to fight it right now, that in 15 years, we're going to look back at this Celtics run and be like, oh, yeah, that's the time where everybody sort of fell apart and the Celtics walked to the title.
I think we're actually going to look back on it and say, man, that was the time when the Celtics got over the hump and they won another one. And I don't know if it's going to be next year necessarily, but I think they could win another. And I would say winning 2 today probably means more than winning it's harder to do than winning 5 back when Bill Russell won 5 of his 11.
I have a question because the 80s Lakers, you had Magic Johnson's Lakers essentially go to Western Conference, the NBA Finals essentially every year. I think they won 8 out of 10 years.
Yeah.
We're talking about the Celtics running through a weak East. How come we don't say that about those Lakers teams?
I said it all the time. They had nobody there. I mean, the Rockets got there twice against the Celtics.
Right, and one was Moses being, God mode, and another one they kind of threw away against Akeem and Rolf Sampson.
A very young Akeem.
Yes.
So I thought I talked about it all the time. The Lakers were gifted. Yeah, but then they faced the Celtics, so that's something. Or the Sixers.
I got you. I just think that sometimes it's like applying it, though. It's like, and then you're playing the same teams in the finals. So how tough was the NBA?
I just think that, listen, in 1980, we saw Showtime. They beat Dr. J. I mean, I just don't think there's going to be, maybe they beat a young Luka Doncic here.
I know, they just beat Luka, who people are talking about as being the best player in the NBA. Like, here's the thing, Perloff, you might think that I'm overrating this, but it feels like you're underrating this title here for the Celtics. Like, you don't want to give them any credit for what they've done.
No. I'm playing devil's advocate a little here. I just don't think it's going to be a legacy finals. First of all, it's going to be one of the lowest rated finals in history because I don't think this is a great matchup. This is not Bird Magic. This is not Steph Curry versus LeBron. This is not superstar versus superstar, even though there were stars. It was an odd playoff run, and that's unfortunately what the NBA is, so parity-laden right now. That's all we're getting is these weird finals.
Well, again, though, like Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown are 26 and 27.
I know, but Joker was 28 last year when he won the title.
No, what I'm saying is, yeah, this first matchup might have seemed a little bit like, all right, it's a little out of left field, Celtics and the Mavs, even though there's history between some of the players like Kyrie and Kristaps Porzingis and stuff like that, like being on the other teams. But there's not a lot of institutional history. Like there's still room for this to grow. I don't know if it's going to be a rematch, but there's still a chance. And, this really plays into what the Celtics were talking about. Like, they even said it, they called it before the finals that one title's not going to be enough for them. So they're not shying away from it. Jayson Tatum knows the assignment. So nobody's sitting back and be like, aha, we did it. I finally got my ring and now I can go, right off into the sunset. It's nothing like that. They're already talking about the second ring openly last night. Nobody's shying away from this. And I think they probably want Jokic. I would imagine.
Giannis was 27 when he won his title, and we would have thought, oh, man, this is the beginning of a run. Joker was 28, and I sure thought, I'm like, oh, my God, finally we have an NBA dynasty. They have Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter, Jokic, Jamal Murray. This is it. And I think you could look at the Celtics today and say, oh, here's a potential dynasty. There's something funny about the NBA where everybody is having trouble repeating. I mean, I don't think it's a fluke. I think the league is structured in a way that it's very, very hard to repeat. I can't wait to see the Celtics try. I think this year's playoff was a little bit flat because of some of the injuries. Next year is going to be wild because now that Tatum and Brown have learned how to do it, I agree. It's a potential, but it's going to be really, really hard because are you going to get a healthy Porzingis? Are the older guys going to be able to contribute?
I also wonder about the best duo in the NBA, conversation because I do think Tatum and Brown are right there.
Did you think it a month ago?
This is the one thing. Yes, but to be fair, I didn't know because I've also seen them fail in big spots.
Yeah.
So I've seen them be super talented and put together great runs, and then I've seen them kind of fumble it away in the postseason. Now I have a lot more confidence. You and I talked about whether experience mattered in these playoffs. I think it did.
Well, we had this funny quote from the Oilers coach who said the Buffalo Bills never had success, and they went to multiple finals.
Yeah, we'll see what happens to the Oilers tonight.
You're still mad at the Oilers. I love that.
I will be forever.
Yeah, Townie Maggie coming out on that one.
There's no amount of tatas you can show me to make me like the Oilers again.
But you have to acknowledge that a few weeks ago, we're talking about Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic being the best backcourt of all time or something like that. I can't even remember what it was. So I think they were the hot duo. It changes quickly. Next year, there could be another duo. There are a lot of potential duos out there. Joker and Jamal Murray is a pretty good duo.
It's a great one, but...
Yeah, Anthony Edwards and Cat was thought to be maybe something. I know Cat's the weak link.
It was more like Anthony Edwards, just like on his own. But I do think that right now, you got to hand it to Tatum and Brown. And again, it's not like they just came out of nowhere. Like, they've been building towards this.
Right now, it's 9 o'clock.
6 years.
9 o'clock Eastern. They won the title 11 hours ago. Yeah, I would hope so. It takes an idiot like me to be talking negatively about the team.
Wow, it's like this is the least, the least of their 18 titles. And what did you say? Least impressive?
No. I said right there with the 1976 win over the Phoenix Suns. I think that was a shot heard around the world. And then they beat... They must have beaten, I don't know who was on this Bucks team. It must have been Lou Alcindor or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in 74.
Yeah.
I do think this is going to go down as sort of one or two off. I don't think this is a dynasty. And that's not a hot take. There are no dynasties anymore.
Well, the Warriors just did it. So it's not like the Warriors were back in the 80s. Like, this just happened.
They won, what?
4.
4 in how many years?
7?
Yeah, it's not Michael Jordan dynasty.
You guys, you Jordan people ruin everything. You ruin everything. You really do. It's like you can't be good if you didn't do 6 titles in 8 years. Like,
you can be good. You can't be great.
It's such a disservice to the NBA. Don't you think?
I'm half joking.
This is like comparing like Tua to Tom Brady at every turn. Like,
I kind of wonder if this is going to happen to other quarterbacks. Maybe we're lucky because we got Patrick Mahomes, who seems like he's on the same track. But maybe the NFL is lucky that they have another essential quarterback dynasty.
Yeah, I mean, you see the ratings are rising like crazy on the Chiefs. They're starting to even challenge the Cowboys a little bit, not quite. But I do think that's what the NBA needs right now is when they get all these TV deals, they need the Celtics to repeat, and then they become much more interesting.
I don't think it's going to matter, honestly. Like, there is something about the Jordan people. Like, just nothing is going to ever matter with the people who are just constantly putting the ghost of Jordan into every single conversation. I'm guilty of it, too. I'm not saying I'm not. I'm guilty of it, too. But when it comes to LeBron, I'm not looking at Tatum and Brown and being like, oh my gosh, they're not Jordan. I'm not looking at Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. We did not do this with them. What is going on?
Well, with Steph, we did do the Finals MVP stuff. That was a thing for him. But
it wasn't a comp to Michael Jordan.
No, but it was this idea that, because Jordan went 6 for 6 on Finals MVPs, and that all of a sudden that became this kind of white whale for Steph Curry. It's like, is he really that great if he can't even be Finals MVP? And where are we getting that from? We're getting it from Mike. Let's be real.
I know what
6 Finals MVP, 6 years. That's
but
one of the big things.
But he didn't win a Finals MVP to the 4th one. Like,
I know exactly, and that was a conversation.
I thought
they were
that was
talking
more
about
about
weeks
LeBron.
ago.
I thought that was more about LeBron,
but Tatum had an interesting line the other day. He was asked about the Finals MVP, and he listed all the great players who did not win Finals MVPs, or I think, did Kobe not win one?
He said Kobe only won 2 out of the 4 or 5 or whatever.
I thought it was a good perspective
was.
from him, because at the end of the day, honestly, I don't care about the Finals MVP. Corbett Maxwell won the Finals MVP. It's the MVP that, it's the title that matters. I'm not a huge Finals MVP guy.
Well, I think the reason why it's me neither, but I think the reason why it's interesting with the Tatum and Brown is because it's flipped. Right? Like, we were all, like, even when Andre Iguodala won the first one with the Warriors, it wasn't Steph Curry. Like, Steph was a little hurt, right, in that finals run. And it was odd. Like, nobody really grabbed it. The thing about why it's interesting with Tatum and Brown is because we're told Tatum is the better player. He's the first-team All-NBA guy.
Yeah.
He's the guy who's supposed to be, like, quote-unquote better. But we just watched Jaylen Brown have a great series. He won.
Put him up 3-0, and this last final game 5, I felt like Tatum was the best player on the court.
Really?
That's what. Yeah. He scored the most points in game 3. It was a masterclass last night.
But,
Brown was great in those first 2
were-
games, but even those first 2 games, it wasn't like he was averaging 30. He was averaging 22, 21. He played great defense. He had a great series. I'm not trying to denigrate Brown. I just thought when the chips were real on the line and Dallas had to make a run, the best player on the court, I thought, was Tatum. He was last night. I thought he was in game 3.
I felt like they called a timeout in game 1 when it was getting out of control. Brown made the big shot. Then game 3, it was not Tatum. It was other guys who hit the big. Derek White hit the big 3, right? I don't feel like Tatum was the hero of game 3 to me.
Tatum was awesome. I thought.
But I mean, at the end, there was a bunch of other guys who hit the shots, right? It wasn't necessarily after Luka fouled out. I mean, Luka kind of screwed that up. Anyway,
Let's hear from Jaylen Brown. He says he shares this finals MVP with Jayson Tatum.
It was a full team effort, and I share this with my brothers and my partner in crime, Jayson Tatum. He was with me the whole way, so we shared it together.
That was Brown on the podium. Their relationship is pretty fascinating. Just put in the context of like professional sports today and sharing spotlight when guys are so close. Like, you're a top 5 pick, I was a top 5 pick. You're making all this money, I'm making all this money. You're an all-star, I'm an all-star. Like, we talk a lot about like one guy's got to be the alpha and everyone's got to know the pecking order. And I feel like with the Celtics, credit to them, I think it changes. Brown is super vocal. They've had him mic'd up this whole playoffs. He's the one who's trying to keep people calm in the huddle, all that stuff. Like, who are they really following? Is it Tatum or Brown? I think it's an interesting relationship.
So, yeah, I know Brown is the vocal leader, but you wouldn't think Drew Holiday fits into that mix?
Him too, but he just got here.
And White, too.
Like, Tatum and Brown have had this relationship now for 8 years.
Yeah, but I think it's funny. This team doesn't feel like a real top-heavy team. It feels like they can alternate who's the man. And definitely Derek White. Derek White will step in. There are games where I think they have 40 in a playoff game. So I think that this team is not really about those 2 superstars. I mean, also, too, their numbers were not impressive in this finals. Jayson Tatum, I mean, he scored 22 points a game in this finals. He's a 27-point per game. He was way down. There's no way to ignore that he couldn't find his shot until the very end.
There is a thought, too, where it is the finals, and as you get going, the scoring, I mean, last night in the first quarter, there was like no one could hit a shot. It seemed like everyone was kind of tight.
They were also looked very tired last night. Both teams were trying to fight to the finish line there.
But if you have like Tatum and Brown were 12 for 25 in the first half yesterday, combined for, 31 points, I believe. And then you had on the flip side, Kyrie and Luka were 6 for 18, combining for 14 points. Like in the first half when this thing was like kind of decided,
right,
Tatum and Brown were much better.
Well, Kyrie only had 2 field goals, I think, in the first half.
2 for 8, 1 for 4 from 3.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're looking at numbers, Doncic blew everybody away. I mean, blew everyone simply out of the word. One of the all-time, if you just look at the numbers.
But not the first half yesterday. We're talking about when this was hanging the balance. He was 4 for 10, 0 for 3 from 3 with 9 points.
How many rebounds?
6.
How many steals?
0.
Yeah, I think okay, so all those steals were in the second half. Yeah, but I mean, not in the balance, but I mean, Luka was carrying this team on his back. You cannot, he ran out of steam. He got out there, he missed his first 2 threes, and you could tell that was deflating. It happens. There's a lot of pressure on that guy. He's got to hit every shot because there's nobody there to help him.
Yeah.
There's simply nobody.
I don't like hearing that, though. It's like, I saw it too. It's like he missed a 3-pointer, hang in the head, lackadaisical getting back on defense. Dude, it's a freaking closeout game of the finals. Like, you're the star of the team. Everyone knows it. You're right. They need you. You've been carrying them to a certain extent. Like, you can't let that affect you in this way. Keep shooting. Like,
he did. I mean, he did keep shooting. He scored 28 points. But I think it was tough on him. Like, he just wasn't feeling it. That happens. It happens to Tatum, too. Tatum has thrown up some bricks this finals.
The thing about Tatum, though, is he'll miss and miss and miss and miss and miss, and then he'll play good defense to make up for it.
And rebound, yeah.
Rebound. He'll go to the hoop, which Luka will, too. But he'll go to the hoop to try to get himself going. And with Tatum, like, you never know. All of a sudden, he could hit, like, his last 4 shots or something, and then it's, like, made up for it.
He'll have his butt saved by Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Drew Holiday, and Al Horford.
Yeah.
Who is saving Luka?
Well, Kyrie was supposed to, and he wasn't good yesterday.
Yeah.
I think the other question, like, do you feel, in terms of watching Luka in the finals, are you more impressed with him? Are you less impressed with him? Sort of, what was your How do you feel about Luka coming away from that finals? 855-212-4227. Still think he's the best player in the league? Maggie Perloff. So much more to do. Got some gossip for you. We're not above that around here. Sports gossip. Has to do with Boston, actually. Get to that next. Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Defensive Player of the Week is sponsored by the Navy Federal Credit Union, who proudly serves the Armed Forces, DoD, veterans, and their families. Their members are the mission. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. I know what EJ did here. Defensive Player of the Week, he went team Boston Celtics, won the Defensive Player of the Week award. You can take a guess, Maggie, but I know I've nailed it this week.
I think he just went with Drew Holiday. I think that was the answer. He's the best defensive player on a great defensive team who just won the title last night. So, EJ, who'd you go with?
Wait. Is Drew Holiday better than Derek White and Jaylen Brown? Okay, anyway, maybe you're right.
All right. This week's Defensive Player of the Week made a statement play to start the game last night that I think set the tone.
Doncic just connected with the Jones, the Gaffords, the Liveleys. Kyrie Irving gets inside, lost the handle. White leads ahead to Holiday, goes inside, layup is good. He's got
Drew Holiday is the Defensive Player of the Week. He had that stop on Kyrie Irving early, stripping him as he went to the basket, giving the Celtics an early lead. Kyrie Irving from there just did not look like the same player he was in Dallas. And Drew Holiday's defense, I think, set the tone. I know we talk a lot about Boston and the crowd and how much Kyrie didn't play well there, and he didn't. But Drew Holiday, I know another guy's called Off Night. They should give him the nickname Off Night because when you play against Drew Holiday, that's kind of defense he puts on people. He was phenomenal this entire series. He missed a lot of layups last night, which is weird, but we're talking about defensive player here. I think his defense was absolutely phenomenal. Him cutting off the head of the snake, which is Kyrie Irving in terms of a point guard situation, I think was a big deal. So, Drew Holiday, my Defensive Player of the Week.
Love it. Nailed that one.
Very worthy. Okay, so now Perloff has...
Yeah, I got an exercise for you.
He's got something for me.
I got an assignment.
And I'm obsessed with this. Okay, go.
So I'm doing some work for Athlon Sports, and they asked me to look at, after Tom Brady got number 12 retired last week for New England, who's next in the NFL? And there aren't a lot of retired numbers. There are about 163 players who have retired numbers. There's 380 Hall of Famers, to give you some perspective here, because you have to stick around forever. You can't just be a great player. You can't leave, and everyone leaves now. So I only have 11 pretty surefire retired numbers who are currently playing. Now, a little caveat, the Cowboys don't retire numbers. A couple teams don't retire numbers.
Right.
So they're out. So I only have 11 guys. Can you guess them, Maggie Gray?
Okay, I've back of the envelope this thing.
Yeah.
I say these are all players who are currently active.
No Aaron Donald, no J.J. Watt, no Jason Kelsey of the Eagles, although he could come back. I hope he does. He probably won't.
Yeah, I don't think so. He's drinking a six-pack somewhere. Enjoying
life.
By
the way, that never stopped him during his playing career, but
that doesn't
I
mean
agree.
he could come back. Okay, so...
hit me.
So these are active players only who could be the next one to get their numbers retired, not Ring of Honors, not just numbers retired. Okay,
not honored in some lame way. You got to hang that jersey up in the rafters, and there's only so many numbers for a gigantic football team. Go.
Okay, I think Aaron Rodgers does with the Green Bay Packers.
Yes.
I think that eventually Mahomes and Kelsey.
3.
I think that Matthew Slater gets his jersey retired by the Pats.
That's so good, and I didn't even include that one, but
okay,
I don't know. Wait. No.
I've got more, obviously.
I mean, everybody who's retired by the Pats is.
Oh, wait, Matthew Slater retired, didn't he?
Yeah, but even
I can't put him on.
He's not going to make that list.
Okay, sorry. I forgot he's retired. What about
John Hanna is the last guy before. It's hard, but go ahead. Who else?
I think that Lamar Jackson will get his jersey
I have
retired.
I have Lamar.
I think that Cam Jordan will get his jersey retired by the New Orleans Saints. He has been a lifetime Saint.
Mm-hmm,
He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He's a fantastic player. I think Cam Jordan is getting his number retired.
Your logic is spot on, but I guarantee you're wrong.
Okay.
Saints don't retire numbers.
Oh, they don't? I didn't know that.
Tricked you. Otherwise, Cam Jordan would be surefire. I love Cam Jordan, but no, they happen not to do that.
Can I give you a pair of 49ers?
Hit me.
Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, I think, both get their number retired. Now, it's early. They're going to have to spend the majority of their careers, but I think these two guys get their numbers retired.
I had a next category looking good, and I had Nick Bosa on there for sure, and then I had a level down Fred Warner.
Okay.
Now, the one thing about the Niners are this is a storied franchise. You have 100 numbers to play with, Maggie. So Bosa has a great chance. Fred Warner's going to be tough. He's probably the best at what he does right now. That's tough. Who else?
I have TJ Watt.
Yep, I got him.
Okay.
Hard on the Steelers, too. Same reason, but he's pretty spectacular.
I wasn't sure about this. I think Myles Garrett's on his way.
I had trending up. I didn't give him enough time. That was a good one.
Okay. Matthew Stafford by the Lions.
I had
Tough,
him,
right?
I had two not makings it. I had Matthew Stafford not making it, it's my opinion, the Lions, and Deebo Samuel not making it with the 49ers.
Okay, we're talking about Perloff wrote an article for Athlon Sports about who's the next player to get their jersey number retired, and they have to be active. My next one, I thought Lane Johnson for the Eagles.
Bingo. Done.
Okay.
65. Not a lot of 65s out there.
And that's all I had. The other was I thought maybe Jake Matthews from the Falcons, but I don't know what the Falcons situation is for that.
Okay, I got a couple that Derrick Henry, Titans, 22, 8 years.
Right.
Probably. Some people in Nashville said that his departure left people feeling a little bad.
Come on.
He
gave you the best years.
I had Chris Jones, 95 Chiefs, because he just signed a 5-year deal with the Chiefs. So I'm assuming a lot of pressure. Here's one that I got a little grief on. Justin Tucker, number 9 for the Baltimore Ravens.
I mean, he's the best of the best.
He is. I know you're a fan.
I mean, he's a kicker / opera singer. I mean, and not even the opera singer stuff. That's just funny. But I mean, he is amazing.
One more I had looking good, Mike Evans of the Bucks, just because it started off his career with 8 1,000-yard seasons. He might leave eventually, but I think they want to honor that 2020 team. Let me ask you this one. How about number 12 for the Bucks?
Do they retire Brady? I mean, probably, just because why the hell not?
Yeah, I mean, don't teams do that where like a superstar comes at the end, wins a title?
I mean, you're the Bucks. Why not?
What about Stafford for the Rams?
Yeah, I mean, he needs some more time. And like the Rams, actually, they're kind of flirting with moving on already. So I wonder about that.
I thought
about that one hard.
I'm wondering if the Lions, and obviously at some point, I do think the Bills will retire Josh Allen's number unless he needs more time. But is this like a Joe Burrow thing? But
I have Josh Allen as a guarantee.
But here's the thing. There's still so many ways this could go. He could ask for a trade. He could something weird could happen where he falls out of the graces. But I don't think so. But
one of the things was I thought Josh Allen seems to have a loyalty to the Bills, at least till the end of his career. Did we say Russell Wilson? We said him, right?
Oh, no, I didn't have Russell
Number
Wilson.
3 was Seattle, a little controversial. Jalen Hurts may be trending if he can stay. That one's George Kittle with the Niners.
There's a lot.
Yeah, those are possibles. They need a lot more time. Like Justin Herbert needs a ton more time. I had a young guy. Guess
what about the Chiefs of Tyreek Hill?
Tyreek Hill, they already gave away his number.
Oh, right. What am I talking about?
No, I know. No, I was shocked. I'm like, they already gave him away. I had DK Metcalf, Quentin Nelson, Cooper Kupp, A.J. Brown, Trevor Lawrence, young guys who, if they spend 10 more years. But who's my number one young guy? This is a guess. Guy, first 3 years in the league, who I think eventually will have his number retired, and there's a reason I'm asking it in this room.
First 3 years?
Yes. He's a young player who... Sauce.
I was going to say him.
Yeah, I mean, he feels like... Doesn't he feel like a Jet for a long time? And he feels like a Hall of Famer.
That's the one from there.
Yeah.
Also, Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, I have him. I have him too. Jamar Chase, C.J. Stroud, Penny Sewell. Those guys seem like they're started, but it's amazing. To get your number retired, you need a lot of loyalty. And the NFL is jumping around a lot. I can't believe you weren't going with 17 and Josh Allen.
Wait, so who's your top of the top? Like who next is probably Aaron Rodgers, right?
Wait,
like,
I have
Green Bay's not going to waste a lot of time there.
Yes, because he's still in good. Favre was a little dicey there for a while. Like they didn't like him. But my top 4: Mahomes, Kelsey, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson.
I think that's good.
But it's hard. Aaron Donald, obviously, with the Rams.
This is a little off-beaten path.
Yeah.
We talked about the Lions.
We're talking about the next guys to get their jersey.
Yeah, you mentioned Sewell. I'll go another offensive lineman. What about Frank Ragnow?
I thought about him. That dude's a baller. But he doesn't actually look how many Pro Bowls and All-Pros. His career is getting a little bit of a late
about
start.
Trent Williams?
He
but
split.
Didn't Trent start with Washington,
got there in
right?
2020 to the Niners.
That's true. He's just not there long enough.
Okay, one more trivia. Who has the most retired numbers? There's 2 teams tied for him. See if you guys can guess.
I'll say Steelers and Raiders.
No, Steelers are very conservative. They have too many guys, so they don't actually hang them up in the rafters.
Patriots?
No.
49ers, you said there's a lot, right?
There's a lot. Nope. It's the Giants and the Bears because those franchises go back 200 years. But the Giants cheat. They have 2 number 14s or something. Y.A. Tittle and some other guy from the 30s.
Yeah. Yeah, the Giants are doing something interesting now. It's the 100th anniversary, right? This is going to be their 100th anniversary.
Yes.
So they're counting down the 100 greatest Giants. And I have a side bet going with someone in the office that it's actually going to be Eli Manning, and they're not going to give it to Lawrence Taylor just because Lawrence Taylor is such a wild card and could get in trouble 10 times between now and whenever they do this top 5. Meanwhile, Eli's pretty solid.
I don't know how well it's going to go over with the fan base.
No, they're going to hate it. But what are you going to really argue with about Eli?
No, I'm not going to argue Eli. I'm just saying that Lawrence Taylor might have been one of the best players ever in the
I
NFL.
know. I just think that and they might give it to him. They might.
It's sort of a politics thing.
I think so.
Will they give it? Will Len Grant be on there? Len Grant, who the Giants retired his number in 1938 after he got hit by lightning on a golf course in the offseason.
What?
Then Pete Gogolak brought it back in 66. I know way too much about retired numbers. Like,
Pete
seriously,
Gogolak, that's
I
a
could
great
kill
name.
a cocktail party with this conversation.
Not if I was there. I'm like, tell me more.
Len Grant, they retired his number because he died on a golf course because he got hit by lightning in 1938. So
Well,
this
sure
is
the hard stuff wasn't going to come down for quite some time.
I give love to my Miami Hurricane, Calais Campbell, Jacksonville. Someone we should think about too.
He played
too
for
many
so many
teams.
Oh, he was so
Didn't
good,
he just sign
though.
the other day, by the way?
I know, but in Jacksonville, he was great.
Oh, wait. Here's Anthony in Boise who's got a great one. We all missed it. Anthony, tell us what we missed. Anthony.
With the Broncos?
Yep.
Hello?
Von Miller, you said, with the Broncos. 100%
Yeah, he
right.
Had 100 sacks, 100-plus sacks with the Broncos. He won the Super Bowl MVP with them. I know he went to the Rams and now is with the Bills, but he's talked about how much he loves the Broncos and just he never wanted to leave. So I think he's going to have his jersey retired for sure.
What's his relationship like right now with the Broncos? Do you know?
I've read and seen some things. He's not upset with the Broncos, but I still think he has a lot of love in Denver. I think he visits Denver from time to time and, probably still has a house there and lives there. So
Yeah. Anthony, it's a great one. Thank you. And you have to wonder, I don't know if it would have helped at all because they got smoked in the Super Bowl against the Seahawks, but Von Miller was hurt for that run. And not for that run, for that game, you got to wonder. I mean, they lost like 100-0.
Doesn't he have to, step onto a football field to be considered active?
Oh, come on.
Listen, I'm thinking the same thing.
I did active players, not Von Miller.
Well, speaking of, are they active or are
Sadly,
they
he
not
actually
active?
was on the field at the end. You just didn't notice it.
Speaking of active or are they active, this guy did play a lot last year. We kind of forgot a big one. Bobby Wagner, Seahawks.
Yep.
He's got to have his number retired.
Is he coming back?
He's on the Washington Commanders.
That's true. We've left almost no time for Dexter to do headlines. Dex, hit us off with a couple here. What did we miss today?
All right, what we missed. On Monday, 8 days before the Commissioner's Cup title game between the New York Liberty and Minnesota Lynx, the WNBA announced it's moving the contest to UBS Arena in Elmont, New York. The Liberty, who went 5-0 in qualifying rounds, they were set to host at the Barclays Center, couldn't hold it at the usual arena because the NBA draft is scheduled for June 26th and 27th. So when you look at all this, double booking happened. Did the WNBA fumble this with the Commissioner's Cup because they knew the dates in advance? They knew this a while going back, right? The NBA settled on the Barclays Center for its 2-day event long before the Commissioner's Cup title date. So
yeah, how does this happen?
Yeah, it
It's
seems
got
to
like
me
a master calendar for the Barclays Center.
When
Isn't
did
there? They handle 100 music acts a year more.
When did they decide the draft? Is that way out?
The draft is always at Barclays.
Always at
Well, is it?
Do you mean
Are
the
they never
dates?
going to move it around like the
I
NFL?
don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. But you mean like the dates? They knew the dates. They announced that months ago, so they knew that. Yeah. Seems to me like the WNBA messed this up.
It's so odd. So now you got to go to Elmont? Oh, God.
That's dreadful.
I mean, it's not the
Stadium
worst
is
thing in the
not
world.
bad,
The
but
stadium's new.
Yeah, stadium's nice.
Yeah, I heard that's a cool place. You been, EJ?
I actually haven't been.
I know
I'll
people
be there
who've
next week for the game, but I have not been.
Fun.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. All right, guys, this one should be interesting for the people out there. According to TMZ Sports, Bill Belichick has a new love interest in his life in his 24-year-old competitive cheerleader, Jordan Hudson. One of Hudson's former cheerleading teammates told TMZ that Hudson first met the 72-year-old on a flight from the Boston area bound for Florida way back in 2021, and they bonded over a philosophy project that the student-athlete had been working on. They swapped contact information after landing and stayed friendly through the ensuing months, discussing her schoolwork and the X's and O's of her cheerleading routines. Hudson was supporting Belichick at his games at Gillette Stadium throughout the last 2 seasons with the Patriots, but they just recently decided to become more public with things. So I'm going to give you guys a little prediction. What do we think is going to last longer? Coach Belichick's time away from the NFL sidelines or his new relationship with the 24-year-old?
So Belichick's 72 and she's 24.
Yes.
He's definitely got out of a relationship with someone who was a little more age appropriate, right? Linda, they were together for a long time. I think
16 years.
Yeah, 16 years. Feels like a little.
He was 48 when she was born.
Yeah, feels like a little bit of a rebound thing. Like Belichick's kind of going through it, maybe a little bit of an identity situation, not coaching,
trying to get his groove back. That's what you're saying.
I don't know. It's gross. that's
I don't know if there's a rebound thing. I don't know. I feel like there's been stories about Belichick. We know he's a wild boy.
He kind of is.
Yeah. So I don't know how the Linda thing ended, but we seen him with shirtless walking out of apartments.
Getting caught on the ring camera.
But what's weird about Belichick is though, for him to have this pseudo under the radar reputation that's now becoming a little more public. It's kind of surprising considering we think of him as a guy who's in a cave and hoodie up watching film until 4 a.m. And
he's finding time for
all this other stuff too.
24. First of all, I didn't know that you could do competitive cheerleading beyond college. Whoa.
Wait, does that mean she's an active competitive cheerleader?
I think he went to one of her competitions.
I believe she is. I didn't know that.
I mean, she could still be in college.
Oh, maybe she was still in college. That makes a little more sense. There's no post-college cheerleading, right? Beyond just professional franchises.
Does this help or hurt Bill Belichick's legacy?
So I think it's funny. I don't know about legacy, but I would say right now, I think there's some stories that people tend to gravitate to. Zach Wilson, maybe with a mom's friend, something like that. Or maybe someone dating a very beautiful woman, something like that. I think when you're 72 to 24, I don't know if everyone looks at that and they're like, yeah, good for you, Bill.
I think it hurts his legacy a little bit. It makes him seem less serious because that was his superpower, how serious he was about everything.
It's wide. That's a wide age
He needs
gap.
to get back to coaching soon.
Yeah,
Because now I'm worried.
I didn't know she was with him the whole time last year.
Yeah. I think the only reason why we didn't know was because he was coaching. And if this is how he's going to run when he's not coaching. I thought he was great during the draft, but now I'm worried too much free time. We may learn more things about Belichick that are unsavory.
Listen, I don't know. I mean, everyone's got their own thing, and love comes in a variety of ways.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't want to be crazy judgmental about it. 48-year age difference is something.
It's huge.
You know what I think is actually going to happen, though? If you guys want the real prediction, I bet they have a kid.
Well, that we talked about
Al Pacino, Robert De Niro.
I find the Pacino, De Niro having babies in their 80s. That's really disturbing to me.
Well, it's happening. So that's
I mean,
hooah.
I like that prediction.
Tony Randall set that trend.
Yeah, I wonder if they end up having a kid. But that's just me.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
And that kid goes on to coach 6 Super Bowls.
Has a mullet and is the defensive coordinator.
The story should be who gets the coaching job first, that kid or the guy that's at Washington, his other son with the weird facial expressions.
Yeah.
Because that guy gets a head coaching job. God bless
Steven?
him. Yeah, Steve. That guy seems like a.
There are a lot of people who think Steven brought down the whole Patriots dynasty.
Meanwhile, he's still with the Pats. He's Gerard Mayo's right-hand guy.
Yeah.
He didn't go to Washington?
No,
he's with the Pats.
Oh, why did I think he was at Washington? My bad.
No, Belichick might be in Washington next year, but I doubt Dan Quinn would be one and done. Belichick will be somewhere next year.
I don't know. We were just talking about Jeff Van Gundy. What if he's great in the booth and enjoys that?
Wait, no, guys. Steven Belichick is with the Washington Huskies. You remember
right, the Huskies. I thought somebody stayed with the Patriots. Yeah, one of the other sons.
Oh, maybe there's another son. I was talking about the guy with the mullet with the weird facial expression. Yeah, he's the defensive coordinator of Washington. I meant the Huskies.
Yeah, not the Commanders. Sorry. I think there's still a Belichick on the staff because I thought Gerard Mayo and him got really close. Yeah. But meanwhile, we'll see.
We shall see.
They're bonding over philosophy. Did you see he signed her paper?
He kept another son, Brian, it says, according to this. Gerard Mayo did.
Oh, Brian Belichick. Okay. I knew they kept somebody.
Yeah. Trying to a little continuity.
How old are the sons in comparison to this girl?
Yeah.
All his children are older than this girl.
Brian graduated college in 2016.
His daughter is his oldest child,
I
right?
think so,
if I recollect. Okay. They're all older.
All right, Bill.
Yeah, I do think maybe Bill should get back to coaching so we know less about his
yes,
personal life.
Please.
Yeah.
It turns out we don't really want to know this stuff.
Well, holidays will be interesting for that family this year.
Good luck with all that. 855-212-4227. Dexter, thanks. Great job all morning. Coming up, we have the final word on the NBA Finals next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. All right, NBA Finals, it's a wrap. Celtics win it. We've been asking you today if this is a Celtics team you envision winning more titles. Not to just fast forward here, Perloff, but it's like you're not anybody unless you solidify it with the second title. You don't get the true believers until you do it for a second time.
Yeah, I mean, it is a bizarre era in the NBA where teams are having trouble repeating. I thought it was the Nuggets last year. I thought this was the dynasty. Man, was I wrong. Celtics, they're good, but are they really that good? That's the question.
We asked you on X, how many championships do you see the Celtics team winning? Just one is leading the pack at 57%. People say two at 39%, three or more, just 4%. How about this for a poll that's almost dead even? Today's old school, new school debate, Pearl. Old school stadiums and arenas or new school stadiums and arenas? Right now, old school edging out new school 52 to 48%. You can go to @Maggie and Pearl on X and you can vote. And when we're talking about old school, like gritty, historic, kind of uncomfortable maybe, but all about the game, no frills. And the new school is cushy and a little fancier, the food a little bit better. You get some nice Wi-Fi.
Yeah. I'm not trying to be a hero here. I'm going for comfort over crappy plastic seats to watch a game that's played on concrete with a little bit of rug over it. No, thank you. I mean, listen, I grew up with Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia, the worst stadium of all time. And man, anything is better than that.
The big surprise was Pete. I thought for sure you'd be with me on the old school, let's keep it all about the game. But instead, you want roller coasters in the outfield. You want white wine and sushi.
Too much time in Shea Stadium to not go the new way.
Well, yeah, you put the time in. How about this one on X from Rob? I'll take Tiger Stadium over Comerica Park any day. Merry-go-round? No, thank you.
What? Tiger Stadium. I mean, I've never been, but the stories I hear about Tiger Stadium, that's incredible to me.
Somebody called in and said they liked the Oakland Stadium because of the raw sewage. You met Jim Plunkett in the bathroom in raw sewage.
That's when I knew my answer was right.
Listen, the Oakland Coliseum has plenty of character. The raw sewage I could do without, but the character still remains. I like the old school stadiums. I don't need fancy things to eat. I'm going to a baseball game. I'm not going to a 5-star restaurant. I'm not expecting that. And in some ways, I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for something simple. I'm looking to be there with real fans, not just corporations who are giving out, these high price seats to people who never show up. I like this more, keep sports about sports fans to me.
Yeah, right. Because, the old Three Rivers Stadium was all about sports fans. I mean, you had animals running wild in the concourse. These places stunk, Maggie. What you said sounds good in theory, but in the reality, I'm with Pete.
This is where you really grow up as a person, because this has probably happened to all of us, where you get taken to a sporting event. Well, at least it happened back then. You get taken to a sporting event, you're probably a little too young to be at said sporting event, if we're being honest, and you see things that maybe you shouldn't have seen. Like, I've never seen grown men fight unless I was at Bill's Stadium.
Maggie, I was 9 years old. I got lost at Yankee Stadium. You know how scary that is for me?
DJ, they found you.
Yeah, it was a little longer than I expected. A cop comes and says, get her, kid. And I'm like, what the hell's going on?
Hell, they found you. All's well that ends well.
I was like 7 and somebody was force feeding me peach schnapps at Veterans Stadium in the top row. I'm like, what is going on here? And you're 7, you're old enough to drink at an Eagles game.
I remember going once with my stepdad, and he's like, well, you're too young. You got to come into the bathroom. Just close your eyes and keep them closed.
Oh, dear God,
And
no.
I kept them closed, guys. And I think that's where we should end it.
We're not going to talk about the sinks at Veterans Stadium.
Oh, gosh, the trough. No, thanks. Women are way more civilized in our areas. Thank you, DJ Stewart. Thank you to Pete Bellotti, Dexter Henry. Thank you to Rami Levy. Thank you to the Weedos and the Coffee Drinkers. You guys know who you are. You're awesome. See you tomorrow.